Named to the 2024 Pro Bowl roster on the AFC, running back James Cook and center Connor McGovern have been named as alternates for Derrick Henry and Creed Humphrey. For Cook, this is his second Pro Bowl selection, McGovern his first. And for more on this, we do have a piece up at our website, WGR550.com. We do know, though, one Bills player is not going to be attending this year's Pro Bowl games. That is quarterback Josh Allen, as his spot will be taken by Patriots rookie Drake May. More coaching news in the NFL. Former Bears head coach Matt Eberflus is joining the Cowboys staff as the team's defensive coordinator, and the Lions are starting to build out their new staff after losing both coordinators this year, as Broncos passing game coordinator John Morton will be the team's new offensive coordinator. And then senior Pro Bowl practices got underway today in Mobile, Alabama. Practices will continue on Wednesday and Thursday, with the game being held on Saturday at 2:30. To the Sabres, they're in action tonight. They host Boston, 7 p.m. puck drop, with the Steve Folded-Law pregame show getting underway at 6. Nicholas Abe-Cabell cleared waivers today, so he's going to report to Rochester. And with that, Tyson Kozak has been recalled to Buffalo. And then 7 other games across the league, some notables. Montreal hosts the Jets, and Carolina's in New York versus the Rangers, both at 7. And then 2 games at 10 o'clock. Vegas hosting Dallas, and Anaheim taking on the Kraken in Seattle. And then some college hoops also tonight. UB men host Central Michigan. Pregame at 6:30 for a 7 p.m. tip. And that's going to be over on our sister station, The Bet 1520. It's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Kickoff 2025 of the new Chevy from Paddock. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
We're up there, and, here are the people on the panel, so I'm, taking pot shots at Brian Brown. Because, that's what he came to Buffalo for.
It's Mike Schopp.
You literally told E.J. Manuel to his face that he sucked.
And the Bulldog.
I was proud of you, because I
feel like that's what you're there for.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
I know. I couldn't, though. No. I couldn't.
I'm better than you.
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
There's more than just the fact that the Bills lost that it makes this week sad and next week. And you guys are running your FanDuel spots for the Super Bowl, and there's these parties that we're advertising.
Yeah.
Okay. The Super Bowl is so much fun for betting. And today, maybe just 10 minutes ago, I got the email with the seconds are out for the national anthem.
Oh, okay.
And the Gatorade color. Think of how much fun we would have had for the first time in our careers with all that stuff. We could spend an entire day on what color Gatorade. People would get mad because they haven't won yet.
Sure. Yeah.
You only get the Gatorade if you win. It's weird if you lose. You hardly ever see it.
That would be really strange.
The losing coach.
If they waited until the losing coach was in that back hallway talking to whoever the second string sideline reporter is, and they came out and dumped Gatorade on that coach. That'd be weird.
It looks like you don't like him if you're doing that.
Yeah, right.
If you're losing and you dump Gatorade on the coach. But all that stuff. Oh.
Yeah, we
coin toss.
We're missing out on all that.
Who's calling the toss for the Bills if they're the I guess the AFC's the road team. Anyway, whatever. Maybe that's how it works. I don't even know. We'd have that's a good 45 minutes on who's calling the toss.
Well, they actually have a coin toss ahead of time to determine who's going to get to call the toss. That's what they do. And there's a coin toss before that. I'll stop now. I really could have gone a few more times there.
All that stuff would be just so great. And it's not, we don't have it. And it's ruined. All of it's kind of ruined. At least that's where I'm at on, day 2 of the aftermath here. I thought there were 2, yesterday was really good, I think, calls-wise for us, I would say. I was thinking this morning of a couple of calls that really spoke to me later in yesterday's show. Tony, who declared that the Bills are wasting Josh Allen's career narrative, needs to be dead.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was really, really strong.
Yep.
And I think I agree. I didn't spend a lot of time saying they were wasting his career, but
no, I don't think I've ever said it one time. It feels like the absolute ground floor platform of the make a big change crowd. I think that's where that first started. I mean, it really started after 13 seconds, and I think it's only continued to grow because they have obviously not won the Super Bowl since that happened, and so wasting his career. I think one of the first texts I ever got from a friend of mine used that wording about it. Because I did a show, you were away, and it was after that, but I don't know when it was, but it was, sometime after. And it I felt like, I think I want to revisit this because are people out there wanting to replace the coach? Because at the time I thought that sounded insane. I thought it was 4 years ago now. I thought that sounded crazy. And a friend of mine who I respect a lot that I consider to be somewhat, not overreactionary type fan guy said, I'm starting to worry about it. You don't want to waste Josh Allen's prime. Something like that kind of phrasing. And I thought, okay, well, that's a leg to stand on. But yeah, I think, look, there's so much that we just never are going to know about how things, how the sausage gets actually made. And, the more social media is bombarded with different people with varying degrees of credibility. I mean, I'm not saying that they're all lacking credibility. A lot of them have a lot of it. Cutting up the tape and saying you should have done this, and you should have slid this way, you should have slid that way. You got to recognize this. You can't. All that sort of stuff is just so hard. Especially if you buy that you were facing a team that did stuff that they never do. And that, I believe that from the Bills, if that's, them failing to be thorough enough to uncover when Steve Spagnuolo used the blitz that did them in on 4th and 5, then maybe we have a problem. But if they did not put that on tape at all, and even earlier in the game, earlier in this season when they met, used that look and did one thing, and then used that look and did another, I mean, credit to you. You did a thing that was really smart and really good, and I don't know, I can only be so critical of Josh Allen for not recognizing, I think, with the crowd roaring and not being able to talk, boy, I bet they're going to do this instead. How in the world is he supposed to process that?
Well, that's one play.
Right. Sure. But that sort of thing, I think, just all contributes to it funnels into you got to do something because we can't just keep going like this. And I don't know. I said yesterday, and I stand by it. I don't think it's an easy thing to do when you're really passionate about something and you want, you don't want to go through life just hoping it's going to be different next time. You want to do something to affect a change. I just don't think that change is called for in any way, shape, or form at the top of the organization.
Well, the specific line, wasting his career, obviously implies that McDermott should be removed. And this is a game where the caller's point was, I'm not so quick to land there, right now. And it's only to say that there isn't just this obvious problem at head coach. That's what that statement implies, is that obviously, they have to have a different coach. And I don't think it's obvious, which isn't saying very much, but the caller couched it. You said things, I did too, different ways, different times. I'm just not in a big hurry to remove Allen from the scrutiny. And
right.
It's generally fair to be like that anyway. But that's it. I mean, that's really, at this point, as far as I want to take it. Just that I wouldn't want to look at where the Bills are at this moment as, he just doesn't have a chance. There is a lot to say about that, though, with the roster and with play calling. There is still a lot to say about that. It's just a certain level of matter of fact. Yeah. Well, this is the thing, is maybe not really in play. Or shouldn't be. Yeah,
I'm not sure how fast I or we want to push the conversation here to what I'm about to say here, but I'm already. I mean, it's only been a day. I know. In my head, my voice sounds more, I don't know, more back to normal than it did even yesterday. Certainly Sunday night. Like there's a somber sort of funereal sort of feel to doing a show like that. We've got a lot of experience doing it, and it's not always the time for lots of yelling and shouting. At least for me, anyway. I don't feel that way after a game like that. Yesterday was more sort of, all right, what made me mad? What bothered me? I'm already at, all right. I mean, I know we got months to figure it out, but I think the big picture here is still, it's even more promising than it was last February, I think. Last January, last offseason. Because last offseason, they lost to the Chiefs at home the way they did and had gone through a pretty tumultuous tail end of the season there, the Philadelphia game. Like, it was really hot. I even got to, you're wasting Josh Allen's career. Like, that happened. I realized I was wrong about that. I overreacted. But you got to the offseason, and the window closing talk, I think, was as credible as it could ever be. Hyde, Poyer, Tre'Davious White, what... Diggs, I never thought they would move Diggs, but they did. And that gets included here eventually once you get to March or whenever that happened. And so you're wiping a lot of slates clean and plugging holes and eating dead money and not exactly starting over, but it was like, this is Mach 2. The great experiment is what I called it. Like, Josh Allen, without Stephon Diggs, can we do this? Everybody eats all that stuff. I don't know what they'll end up doing this spring to retool the team. But I think the primer coat that's down with the season they just had puts them, for me, ahead, and I think easily ahead of where they were last year at this time. After losing a round earlier to Kansas City, the round doesn't really matter. It's the opponent that matters the most. They have more of an opportunity to add to the roster the pieces that are necessary as opposed to just getting out the tub of Bondo and some glue and trying to, cover up the rust. So I feel kind of good about that.
You're in a painting mood.
I guess so, yeah. My artistic side is coming out. I don't know. I feel like the last year was more like what can I plug in where? Do I have enough round pieces to fit the round holes and square pieces to fit the square ones? I think there's less uncertainty about most of that, and instead we can argue about whether they should make a play for a stud, fill in what your preference is, stud receiver, pass catcher, stud defensive end, stud defensive tackle, stud corner, stud safety. I mean, stud anything. Like, they don't have spots to fill in areas that they can improve, but it's just way different than needing to replace, most of your secondary, which is where they were last offseason.
I guess I don't know if I agree yet. Do I feel better about them overall than last year at this time? I mean, a lot of that change was necessary and not necessarily scary. To me also Diggs was unexpected, but I still liked that they had him and figured that, just run it back with a few fresh faces, and we'll see. One thing that I guess I would say wasn't my favorite last year, and really still isn't my favorite, is the whole reliance on the running game again. And it's one of yesterday, I know at this time early in the show yesterday, just like there were so many facets of analysis of this game that were really two-sided, like, Was it should it have been more James Cook or should it have been less and more Allen, just sort of going with your big gun. So, it'll get sorted out here.
Yeah, I don't I'm not as worried about a reliance on the running game because they were the second highest scoring team in football and even still got their 29 against Kansas City. But I do think that if you're zooming out from how it ended and how it all went, even just how the playoffs looked, really the kind of team they were. Whether or not you need to spend $35 million for the highest end receiver you can find is one thing, but finding someone that can beat someone that you can just count on. whether that's a draft pick, I mean, Xavier Worthy was a draft pick, 2 picks ahead of where the Bills will be picking this year, and was a very impactful player eventually for Kansas City. Didn't start out great, a little maybe similar to Rashee Rice the year before, who, by the way, the Chiefs will get back next year.
Yeah, they're actually set up now with those 2 guys.
Yeah. So I still think the need for someone on the outside that can just be a problem for defenses is necessary. That's going to be on the list of things I want to do. Augment what they're doing, because I don't want to just run back with a bunch of like workmen like Mac Hollinses. They all serve their role, and maybe even surprised at times. Hollins had a very nice game on Sunday in a losing effort, but it's a
nice Mac Hollins game.
Yeah, but I still think I need another elite guy out there, and but to me that's not connected to their run heavy, because run heavy works.
The point I was headed to though is, like, last year at this time, not remembering exactly how I felt in this context, but last year at this time, changes were coming, and it didn't have to be bad. The changes were coming. This year, you want an X receiver. Well, they just took 2 cracks with their first draft pick at a difference-making playmaker. And so far, they kind of went 0 for 2. Like, they Worthy, it's almost unfair when you have Mahomes and Reed, like, you couldn't go to a better situation, and you'd expect, that to tip the scales toward the guy's going to look like, a meaningful player than somebody who got drafted by Carolina or something like that, like Leggett. But I don't know, like, it is what it is. And so I don't have changes coming necessarily in spots where I think I'd like to be better. That's the point. That Coleman and Kincaid for 2, and maybe Hollins is a free agent, but wouldn't they?
Sure, if it's similarly modest contract. I mean, it depends on how realistic he is about, or really, I guess it depends on what his market is. Like, if he can go out there and get some kind of certainty after he's just been bounced around year to year, like, I wouldn't hold that against him, certainly. But if that doesn't exist, I'm open to him being back here. I just would like, as we go over time, for him to not play as prominent a role, because you've got better options, and they really didn't.
Okay, like I wouldn't expect him to really cash in, but who knows? But I'm sure they feel great about the role that he played. He's a great example. Like, is that somebody I want to come back with because he was effective and a great teammate and all these kinds of things? And if they do, well, then where does that block you? Like, how does that block you from something else? There'd be probably a much better chance they want this with Hollins than with Amari Cooper. But and I have Samuel under contract, so you're not closed to the possibility. You're never really closed to this. But last year, Davis was walking, and Diggs was probably going to be here. Turns out he wasn't. The door was open for, like, somebody to hit in that position, and it didn't happen. It didn't happen with Coleman. Hollins is Hollins. It didn't happen with Samuel. So I don't know. Like, that's what makes me a little bit slower to, okay, well, the foundation is good. The foundation, how many great players do they have? That's where I'm at. Like, they have one, and they have a couple of good players, but they're not loaded.
No. The key to me to the whole, like, and again, I said when I started this part of the conversation, like, I'm not sure how fast we want to rush to here, but we're here for now, right now. Cooper, I think, is a key element of that. Not that he's someone that I would be really that desperate or really interested in re-signing. I think at his age and what the contract might look like doesn't sound like the buy I'd want to really be making. But the fact that if they want to keep Hollins, which is entirely foreseeable, then you've got everybody you had to start the year. And what did they do once they started the year? They went and made a trade for Amari Cooper. So I think unless they're just expecting Keenan Coleman to ascend at some rate that I don't think is realistic given what he's done so far. Like, I'm optimistic about him becoming a dependable player, but I don't know what you should expect in September from him here. I think their eyes were open to they needed another guy. So that's
How
why
did it work?
I sort of, however it worked, they needed it, and I don't think just removing him is going to make you better. Like that doesn't make sense to me. So,
but did Cooper make them better? Is that what they would say? That was worth it?
I think so. I mean,
he caught 20 passes. I don't know. That's a good question to me. It's whether they would do that again.
Right. I just wouldn't assume that if he walks, which is, I think, the most likely outcome, that they're going to go, yeah, we're all set over here.
I don't think the Bills should want him back. He didn't really do anything, and he did look old and slow in the end and really didn't help them. So the idea was, because he wasn't putting numbers up, the idea was, well, he's actually helping them in other ways. And I guess. But that's just to finish like where we started. There were two calls yesterday, and one was this one about like whether they're wasting Allen, and it took us down this particular road. I love the guy who just, nailed a point about, this was a close game, but the Chiefs were better at everything. For as close as the game was, Allen was this, Mahomes was better. Defense was this, theirs was better. Like he went point by point through the whole both teams. Coaching better. What happened at the end of the game? Kansas City had a move, and the Bills didn't know what to do with it. And I don't know how many moves like that the Bills had for the Chiefs in this game. How many plays were there like, oh wow, Mahomes was confused. They had a turnover that was their own mistake. The botched snap, like that was it. Nobody came up with anything. Defense, again, in a playoff game against Kansas City, and here we are. So those were a couple of highlights, I guess, even though it's not a fun conversation
sure.
From yesterday. Well, the good news is we've got a Sabres game tonight, 6 o'clock pregame against Boston. We will talk to Trista at 4 and kind of wrap things up with her for the football season. And Ross Tucker, same thing today. Ross will be on with us at 5, and this is probably it for the season for us with Ross. 803-0550 for your calls. We'll do that next. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR.
Never miss a second of One Bills Live.
Dawson Knox, 22 catches for the Bills this regular season. Shakir, the only player with more than Dalton Kincaid's 44. But Bulldog makes the winning point that they did set a franchise record for points, and they did finish second in the league in scoring.
Behind Detroit only, I believe. Yeah.
The takeaways helped, not so much with a bunch of defensive touchdowns, but just field position, drive starts. But still, I mean, franchise record is franchise record. It's really it's for me. It's been a struggle for me since Sunday night to figure out what I think I've got here. Were they a great team? Are they all set? Do they have the foundation? Is it just a matter of getting it done against Kansas City the next time? Maybe. That's how close they were to probably being favored in the Super Bowl. That's how close they were. So I'm hesitant to think they need a lot that they don't have. But man, sometimes I look at the numbers and think about the players and go how many guys do I have here that I really love, that I think are key cogs in a championship team? Thing is, you get that championship, and they all were.
They're all key cogs in the Dawson Knox in his 22 catches is he just does his job.
Right.
Everybody just does his job.
What was that job?
So yeah, I mean, I really think the hardest thing to do in sports. I don't think I actually got this out in the first segment. I got distracted and made 10 different points that I hope made sense. The hardest thing to do is to not do anything. The hardest thing to do is to just look at it and go, okay, let's try it again. It's really hard, especially when it's not Baltimore one year and Cincinnati one year and the Chargers another. It's the Chiefs. The Bengals were mixed in there, but it's the Chiefs. And they are an impediment. And I can't tell you how it's going to be different next time, but I'm already thinking about next time, which I did not expect by Tuesday. But here I am.
Let's go to the phone. Zach is with us. Hi, Zach.
Hey, guys. Yeah, I remember at the beginning of the season kind of wondering to myself, how well does everybody have to work for them to not want to take a swing at an alpha receiver in this offseason that we found ourselves in now? And, it was strange because it's not that I didn't want it to work, but I was like, I don't want it to work so well that they don't find a need to get that type of player, because I think ultimately almost every team needs that type of player. And I am kind of convinced that they are not going to try and get an alpha in here for a couple of reasons. I mean, they certainly won't pick somebody in the first 2 rounds. I mean, my jaw would drop if they picked another receiver in round 1 or 2 this year. And outside of that, what are they going to do? Pick up T. Higgins? I doubt that. I mean, they're not. I mean, what are they going to trade for DK Metcalf? I would actually kind of love that, but I also don't see that happening. No chance. And I just think the needs are so glaring on defense. They give up so many points towards the end, those last 2 games, and I don't know. I mean, I don't think Cooper stays, but I could see them getting somebody of a similar ilk. I don't know, like a Keenan Allen or something like that. And thinking, okay, well, we let's just bank on Coleman ascending a little bit here, and support for Kincaid with Clear and all those kind of post-game pressers yesterday. And I don't know if they can score so many points with Allen and these middle tier type of guys. Why would they want to take a swing on an alpha receiver? I mean, they got so close to the Super Bowl without one, so why not just kind of trudge forward and bank on the development of your guys? And I'm not saying I believe that, but I think they should. But, I'm concerned about that.
It's almost exactly how I feel. I wouldn't say bank on Coleman. And Bulldog, you made a point earlier about, what can you assume or expect there? It's not that. It's that you have to try. You've made the investment. He was supposed to be raw. So, up and down rookie season. Brandon Beane will probably at some point in a press conference say that was to be expected. And so it's still live, right? It's still alive.
Sure. Yeah. Another guy doesn't do anything to block Coleman's path. Just like I don't think Cooper really blocked Coleman's path. I mean, what blocked Coleman's path this year was him getting hurt more than anything else, he had opportunity. I mean, he didn't play like crazy, but he was on the field. I don't think they necessarily sheltered him. He was kind of emerging when he got hurt, and then never really was impactful again, which I don't know if those things don't have to be connected. It'd just be how it went. But, the alpha male, like there's different versions of this, right? I don't know about the first or second round. I wouldn't rule out, I think first, but second, I wouldn't rule out. It depends on how it falls and how much they like guys. And a guy you draft doesn't automatically, is Xavier Worthy an alpha number one wide receiver? No. He's a really fast guy who developed as the year went on and became really dangerous and important for the Chiefs as the season went on. I think Rashee Rice is closer to being their alpha number one receiver. They didn't have him for most of this year, but when he gets back, I think he'll be that. So I don't need to I don't feel like I need to replace Diggs, but I need a skill set that can stress defenses more than Curtis Samuel and Amari Cooper and Keon Coleman. I need speed. I've been talking about it since that first AFC Championship game loss, for God's sake. They've never done it. They need someone that can scare people. And that guy can develop into being an alpha dog number one DK Metcalf type receiver. But walking in the door after you draft him on Saturday at the draft in April, he's not that. So he won't be displacing someone if you draft that guy and see if he can make your team better.
Well, I guess this is similar to last year. And to a point, it was borne out. I think they will look at their offense this year across the board as a success. The being able to run on teams piece that led to other success. I mean, the whole mantra became such a theme of the season. Are they going to go to Kansas City and lose by a field goal 32-29 and come out of that going, yeah, offensively we didn't really have it. I can get to that point myself, but I have to strain to do it. And I don't even know if I really should do it. I can't imagine the Bills thinking that it didn't work, what they did, even with Hollins and Kincaid and Coleman and everything that's being said here. I can't imagine their takeaway is that it didn't work and they need to reinvent it with some Metcalf or some player like that. Like I think that would be shocking because it really just would kind of contradict everything that they said, and they had easily enough success to justify what they said they wanted to do. Yeah,
that's why I think a draft choice, and it doesn't have to be your first pick, but I think a draft choice to augment what they've got is where I'm probably going to land, because I also don't think it's very likely. I mean, I'll talk about any idea you want, and credible or not. I mean, whatever. I spent months last year talking about Brandon Ayuk, and he never went anywhere besides home. He stayed in San Francisco the whole time. So, what's called for, what to expect, what you'd like, those are all different lanes. I think I just wouldn't want to rule out them trying to find an element that they don't have, even though this worked. Because that's how you get better. Like, you found out you can live without Diggs. Okay, well then maybe that rules out the trade for that guy, the $35 million receiver. That I don't need to do that. I found out I can do it a different way. But a rookie on a third-round contract? Sure, come on in.
Yeah, I might guess that they do something like that. 2 seconds. It's 4 Diggs. Maybe they'll find that a reason to make that move. Bill is next. Hi, Bill.
Hey, guys. I called John Murphy like 2 or 3 times in that draft, and he wanted DK Metcalf as bad as I did. And Bean went and took an undersized defensive tackle and not Oliver, who's been good but not great. And to this day, that haunts me, that DK Metcalf. And the thing with Bean, too, if he says Keon Coleman, it's expected, blah, blah, blah. I wanted Ladd McConkey this year when he traded in the second round, who the Chargers took right after we took Keon. And Ladd McConkey's numbers are great this year. He was Herbert's go-to guy. He was great all season. It wasn't an up-and-down season. So the whole excuse he's a rookie, so it's got to be up and down. And, that's not true. And Jefferson obviously proved with the Vikings. Rookies can come out and play great. And that leads me to the Bean thing. Like, I hear a lot of fans, like, they want, McDermott gone. You've heard it for the past 2 or 3 years. I like McDermott. I think he's a good coach. This year, beating the Ravens, the way the defense was schemed, I didn't think we were going to win that game. and they shut down Henry for the most part, got some turnovers. So I gave him a lot of credit for that win. I think he should get a lot of credit for that win. And in this game, you got Kincaid that drops the ball. You got Kyrie Elam, who's another first-round pick that just doesn't look like he can be on the field as a starter. And when people say, McDermott's to blame for the loss, not some people do. I don't at all. I thought about that, and it's like, he can only do so much with the players that Bean gives him on the field. And I'm not going to go through the draft pick history of Bean because everybody knows the hits and misses, and he's been trying to get this defensive line, and then he signs Von Miller. It's been a lot of good players, but like you guys said, nobody really great. And I think back when McDermott drafted, when he was here his first year, and he drafted Dawkins, Trey White, then he brought in Poyer and Hyde as 2 free agents. And I think Milano was that year too of it. I'm not positive he was attached to Milano if he drafted him. But those players there, they're all really, really good. Those were the Pro Bowl players.
So is the point, I'm waiting to hear what the point is. Is the point that McDermott should run the draft?
My point is this. Part of it, yes. My point is this. I want to get you guys' take on this. I know everybody goes, okay, well, we got to get rid of McDermott. Why would it be possible? Could they keep McDermott and get a new GM to draft players for McDermott? Because he can only coach who he's got on the roster. I think he's a good coach.
All right. I think you could be right, but I think my opinion is that your premise is flawed from the walking off point, because I don't think there's as much of a separation of church and state in the responsibilities of the two men. During the season, there certainly is. I don't think Brandon Bean is designing zone blitz packages for them to use on Sundays. But when they get into this part of the year and are interviewing prospects and talking about who they're going to pick, if you think Brandon Bean runs over Sean McDermott on the way to the podium to pick a guy that McDermott doesn't want, I think you're crazy. I don't think there's any way that happens. I think there's probably disagreement and arguing and all that stuff, but I've said this since the minute he was hired. And it's not just because he was hired first, but it's a part of it. Like, it's McDermott's show. Like, they aren't doing anything over there that he does not want to do. So the idea that Bean is saddling him with guys that McDermott doesn't approve of, again, I'm sure there's not a 100% hit rate of agreement on what they do, but I think they're way more, weaving in and out of each other's responsibilities when it comes to the draft and the players that they go out and acquire in free agency. Like, yes, Bean does the mechanics of that and supervises the scouting staff and all that, but when they're picking somebody at 30 or 63 or whatever, to think McDermott is just sitting in the corner going, well, who's he going to get for me is, I think, flawed.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. I liked McConkey, too. The Bills might have thought there was some overlap with McConkey and Shakir, though. Mm-hmm. Like, they went for a certain type with Coleman, and it was a gamble. The pick was a gamble, and it hasn't paid off yet. McConkey looks fine, but every situation makes it so different to really know what you're getting with players sometimes. So he went into a situation that had a great quarterback and a complete void at receiver. Whatever you want, he's the guy you want to make work. The Bills are trying to win a championship. And Keon Coleman, we're going to work you in. That's kind of how they do it. And this is where, like, Shakir had basically maybe a little better of a season than I guessed, maybe a little worse than you might have guessed.
Yeah.
Just sort of there. And you like players like that. But he is another example of what I was saying earlier, where it's one thing to have, like, a foundation, and you like having Shakir, but if it precludes you from doing something else, because you don't have, this is how it is. I mean, if you don't have the obvious need at the position, and you've done this and this in the past, which was the previous caller's point, like, they're not going to draft a receiver in the first round after just having done it twice. I think that way too. And you end up sort of, it kind of, the picks almost, you're still the one making them, but they're kind of made for you sometimes, like, because they did this before and they have this guy who's good enough. So we're not going to go, shoot for the top at this position. And one thing the previous caller said too, like, defensively, they're hurting. Like, we'll debate it every day here going into the draft in 3 months, but you can't say that they're fine defensively, the way that the second half of this season went and the playoffs. Secondary, Milano's age and wear and tear, up front. They did not get it done again on the edges in this game against the Chiefs. I think the consensus will be that they'll draft defense, and maybe they should. That's where they were. They were just weaker than on offense, clearly by a lot, I think, as the season wound down. 803-0550, Trista Crick at 4, Ross Tucker 5, the Sabres Bruins pregame show at 6. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR. we'll have Trista Crick join us to say our goodbyes to each other here coming up at 4 for the year anyway. We don't have our friends from the betting space on anymore outside of the football season. I'd be open to it. I mean, Trista, Joe, Sam, they're all great to talk to.
Yeah.
I wonder if one of them might like to sort of hang out.
Well,
weekly.
I say we should maybe get into that off the air with them.
TK Pucks?
Yeah.
Way too soon for TK Pucks.
Yeah.
January 28th.
Yeah. We'll dabble with them, even if they're not agreeable to be. I would think tournament comes around. We'll get there.
Yeah. Grand Slam of curling.
Wagering on the draft.
Yes. If only we could do it.
Right.
In New York, I don't think we can do it. Joe is next. Hi, Joe.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call.
You're welcome.
Now, I want to come to Keon Coleman's defense for just a hot second. And you're going to think I'm insane. I'm sorry to do this. But if you take a look at another rookie receiver in the history of the Bills that panned out just fine, and look, I'm not trying to compare him to anyone that should go on the Bills Hall of Fame or my favorite Bill of all time, but Eric Moulds had 20 catches for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns his rookie season. No, I know he was playing with Andre Reed, a Hall of Famer. I think Amari Cooper's probably a Hall of Famer.
Ooh.
I don't know. I just think that maybe we give him a little grace.
Well,
maybe we allow
yeah.
him a moment.
What can I ask you? There's something that's been said in the first 45 minutes or so of this show that compelled you to call, because he's absolutely going to get a chance. I mean, all I'm saying is him being here shouldn't preclude you from trying to add another body there, because they added Cooper, 6 weeks into this season or 8 weeks into this season, even with Coleman here. So I think I'm just looking for another guy. I'm not looking to.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think this is more a little pointed. I don't think you guys have said anything to the otherwise, but some of the callers screaming for DK Metcalf, and that'd be great. Coleman's on a rookie contract. I don't know. Let him pan out. I think let him see what he can do.
Well, he'll get that time.
Moulds is a bit of a freak.
There's nothing to worry about here. Yeah. What people say, take it from me or us.
Right.
What people say, don't worry about it. He'll be on the team. They could trade him. I guess I wouldn't want to be 0% chance there's some deal that they end up making. That can always happen. I didn't expect a Diggs trade last year.
Sure, that's right. But even if provided he's not included in the package to acquire this player who for right now is named DK Metcalf in our minds, even if they made that trade for draft capital, Keon Coleman's on the team. He's going to get it. He's going to get his opportunity. His opportunity would probably even get better if that guy was on the team, because it should free him up even more. So yeah, I don't think there's anything to worry about there. I mean, if you were looking for more from him this season, I think that's fine and entirely reasonable. He was a high pick. He was, you were hoping he'd have some impact, and he didn't have that much. But he ain't going anywhere. He's going to get a load of opportunity.
Probably. Chris is next. Hi, Chris.
Hey, good afternoon. Thank you for your honest and always top-notch coverage and analysis of the Bills. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. 2 things. One, does the NFL use the chain gang anymore? I can't remember the last time.
Hardly ever.
Actually measure. I think the last time was the referee that used the index card, which might have come in handy Sunday night.
Yeah, hardly ever. Maybe I might have seen it a couple times this year, if that.
And do they just not use it anymore? Is there a reason?
Upstairs tells them.
What they do is the official coming in from the sideline, whoever it is, side judge, line judge, depending on which side of the field, I guess, flicks his little earpiece on at his belt. You can see him do it, and someone is telling him what they think it was, even though they can't really know that fast much of the time. That is not what happened in the Allen play. I mean, that went to a review.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. It seems like, with so much on the line, there's so much importance of these games, and, every inch counts, every play matters, and it seems like they're almost guessing at, the spot of the ball.
Right.
I would remove almost. I think there are times where they are entirely guessing about the spot of the ball. This instance on Sunday with the fourth down play, not the 4th and 5, the sneak play that got reviewed and eventually the Chiefs got the ball. The guy that won out the initial spot that they didn't have enough evidence to overturn, his decision was coming in having been watching Allen's back for the final 4 or 5 seconds of that play. He couldn't see the ball.
But someone told him where to put it.
I guess, yeah.
Because that's what they're doing on 2nd and 8 when the Panthers are playing. It would have been the case here, too, probably. It's 2 different points. You don't really need the chain gang. And the league is sort of like finally at that point where they know. They like to tell you how the yellow line isn't official. Why shouldn't it be? I mean, they know exactly where the ball is to start 1st and 10. So 10 yards from there. I mean, you don't really need the chain gang. So on one point, they can do it. They have the technology and they're using it. I don't really like the lack of transparency when it comes to the Sky Ref and all that stuff. But they have pretty much gotten to a point where those people are obsolete. And it's probably long overdue. And it wouldn't have necessarily done anything for you on Sunday or in any other game because they're going to put the ball where it looked like it should be put on TV. And they make that call maybe too fast. They make it fast, but that's, I think, what we've got. Thanks, Chris. Good question. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here with Trista Crick after sports. This is WGR.
Call or text WGR at 803-05.
Two more Bills have been named to the AFC's Pro Bowl roster. Running back James Cook and center Connor McGovern. They were named as alternates in place of Derrick Henry and Creed Humphrey. This is Cook's second Pro Bowl selection, McGovern's first. And for more on this, we do a piece up at our website, WGR550.com. More coaching news in the NFL. Former Bears head coach Matt Eberflus joining the Cowboys staff as the team's defensive coordinator. And the Lions are continuing to round out their new-look coaching staff, bringing in Broncos passing game coordinator John Morton to be the new offensive coordinator. And then Commanders OC Cliff Kingsbury officially is going to be staying with Washington. The Senior Bowl, their practices got underway in Mobile, Alabama today. They'll be continuing through Wednesday and Thursday, with the game being held on Saturday at 2:30. That means NFL GMs are present. We did seem to get a little bit of nugget of information as Browns general manager Andrew Berry threw some water on growing speculation the team may try to trade star edge rusher Myles Garrett. Berry went on to say he is not interested at all in trading Garrett and wants him to retire in Cleveland. To the Sabres, they're in action tonight. They host Boston, 7 p.m. puck drop. Pregame getting underway at 6. Nicholas Abe-Cabell has cleared waivers. He'll report to Rochester. And with that, Tyson Kozak has been recalled to Buffalo. While in college hoops, UB men host Central Michigan. Pregame starting at 6:30 with a 7 p.m. tip. And that's going to be on our sister station, The Bet 1520. It's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Kickoff 2025 of the new Chevy from Paddock. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp.
Name any word in less than a second. I will tell you how many letters are in it. But I cannot do anything mechanically. I don't even know how to put a game together for 3-year-olds.
And the Bulldog.
Fool me once, shame on you. If fool me, we can't get fooled again.
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
We'll get there, but last night, I did start thinking about next year's schedule.
I saw a tweet.
Ravens at Bills, Sunday night, week 1. Last year at the stadium, the non-Kansas City AFC championship game, sort of, you know. Ravens are here, Chiefs are here, Eagles should be here because the league website says they're continuing the current rotation, so that'd be the NFC East champion at Buffalo, that's Philadelphia, and Cincinnati, too, all home games for the Bills next year. Should be great.
Great way to send the old girl out.
Not related to that, here's Trista Crick joining us on the West Her hotline. Trista, how are you? How's Mom? How's the West Coast? How's Meta?
Jesus, way to send the old girl out. What a segue. Oh, my.
I said it, and I looked at him like, please don't try to do anything cute here. Let's
just don't.
Can we just run away from this? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's all I can say. I'm sorry.
Spit out my coffee, and I wasn't even drinking.
I didn't mean anything about you. I'm just,
Trista,
the stadium is going out. That's
you're
all.
Much younger than we are.
Got it.
Yeah. Everyone knows that.
Everyone knows that. You're much younger than we are. It's going well out there, I hope? Yes?
Is the stadium going to get any warmer? Is it going to get any more beneficial for me to come out to the new girl? Is the new girl going to be any more cozy than the old girl?
Is the new girl going to be hotter?
I don't purport to have like all of this stuff locked down, but they've done some stuff with the build to minimize some of the impact of the elements, in particular the wind. So I don't know. I would expect it to be more comfortable for many of the patrons, but I don't know about everyone.
It's got to be.
I feel like you guys kind of got to let go of the whole it has to be miserable in order for it to be Buffalo Bills football weather. I think that's like, I don't know why that's ingrained in the culture, but I love everything about Buffalo. I love everyone that I met there. I love the food. The city is near and dear to my heart. That's the one thing that I'm like, I don't know if that is necessarily needed.
Well, it's, I don't want to speak for everyone. Some of us are psychos and we're damaged. But there's also, the Hall of Fame head coach of 4 straight Super Bowl losses like to say, if it's too tough for them, it's just right for us. And that's, something that a lot of the fan base and even this current iteration of the team, I think, has taken to heart. So there's that for you.
I think everyone else around the country thinks that's nonsense.
I respect that. I did lead with Psychos and Damaged, by the way. Just not to bury that.
If they had played the AFC Championship game or any playoff game here yesterday with that wind, I mean, it would almost have been unplayable. It was so windy here yesterday at times that, they would have played probably, but that's what can just mess with an offense.
Stuff that I keep on our porch, we keep on our porch year-round, was across the street.
Yeah, it was bad yesterday.
Yesterday when I got home, that has never happened. It was insane.
Well, it's over, Trista. I mean, we've been talking, among other things, about, this year versus last year.
I drew it up.
What?
Just how I drew it up.
That they would lose by a field goal again?
Yeah, I told you guys from the beginning of the year, you've been asking the same damn question every single week. Do you have more confidence in the Bills? Every week, it's like, do you have more confidence? Have you seen anything? No, I don't. I haven't. Until you beat Kansas City, what I imagine is going to happen is you're going to face Kansas City, and it's going to be some heartbreaking way, and then they'll go to the Super Bowl, and they'll win the Super Bowl again. And that's exactly what occurred.
What about next year, Trista?
Same thing.
Same until it doesn't happen the same way.
I think you guys are like the Houston Rockets with James Harden and Chris Paul. And that team was really freaking good. And you just kept running into Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Kevin Durant. This is what you are doing. And, their roster's not that, right? But whatever the Kansas City Magic is, and the Zebras absolutely are on their side. There were so many calls. I was screaming, and my mom is, very pro Buffalo, obviously, and very anti Mahomes for a variety of reasons. And she's screaming these are bad calls. What is going on? I'm like, yeah, that's Kansas City Chiefs for you. That's how they win. Probably, a lot of the games come down to a few controversial calls.
Was this a game where, because everybody talked about how, the whole country was behind the Bills here, Chiefs fatigue and everything, was this a game where you would say that the Bills blew it, or it's just, inevitable that as good as they are, they can't beat them? Which more is it?
It felt like everything was really hard. It just felt like you had to be so good and clicking on all cylinders the entire game. And that fourth down that was a first down. I don't know what was the deal with that. It looked like Josh got to the first down marker.
Trista, I thought they got the first down on third down.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on. There was a couple of those. So I think, and then you get these crucial penalties. You stop, it's third and long, and then there's a late hit here or a unnecessary roughness here, and they're holding all the time. So I just think you have to play such a perfect game against the Chiefs. You have to be so disciplined. You have to really play a perfect mental game. You have to. James Cook was awesome. He was just such a beast. There were so many clutch plays that you actually executed on and were successful on, and then just some really tough ones. I think in order to beat the Chiefs, you kind of have to be excellent, and you can't allow the refs to put anything in their own hands, because if it's a toss-up, I think they just win every time.
Well, dare I ask a question about the Chiefs and the historical significance here, because the wounds are still pretty fresh, obviously. But what would it be for Kansas City to win a third, other than unprecedented? What would you do with them? Legacy stuff, that kind of thing.
I think they're going to go down because this is what we saw with the Patriots were kind of multiple chapters, so multiple dynasties, right? There were these periods of time where they weren't going to Super Bowls in between long sustained periods of greatness. So I kind of don't consider that the same dynasty. What you would eventually, and I think that Kansas City's probably still not done after this one. I feel they're an inevitable Thanos-like team. I think they'll go down as the greatest football dynasty of all time, and that's what I think they're on their way to doing. And I think we kind of all are there. I think we're we don't want to say it, when we're laying in bed and looking at our ceilings at night. Just like, once you get into your mind who the GOAT is, what the greatest franchise is, it's really hard to usurp them. But I think we kind of all know that what we're seeing, we've never seen before, because of how confident we are that they will just win every game.
You've used the word inevitable a few times here, and going back to last week and now, of course, into this week, now that the Chiefs have beaten the Bills for a fourth straight year in the playoffs, something I sort of arrived at late in the week, if this doesn't go the Bills' way, like next year, how do we pick ourselves up and keep going? Because the Chiefs will feel exactly that word used, inevitable. It's just going to – I don't know how I'm going to convince myself that the Bills can beat them in January next year. Should they be fortunate enough to meet them again? I guess fortunate enough to make the playoffs. Maybe they don't have to meet them. Somebody else could take them out. That would be great. Thank you. But it feels like – yeah, they'll get Rashee Rice back. Maybe he'll be suspended for some of the season for this 2 off seasons ago thing, but whatever, or last off seasons thing. They're going to feel very hard to move off the spot because they keep doing it, even though they had a great record this year, Trista. I never thought they were that good.
Yeah, number one, let's just tell everyone that is involved with making decisions in Buffalo, don't ever trade with Kansas City on draft night again. I don't care how good it seems, how good the deal feels, they're going to get the best of you. That's just what it is. Xavier Worthy is really freaking good. I like Keon Coleman just fine, and maybe it ends up in the long run working out. I just don't think you can trade with somebody who's your rival in this way, right? They are the team that's in your way. That's number one. Number two, it's kind of like when someone has childbirth, when there's childbirth that occurs, that pain is so strong and severe that your mind has to forget it in order to have more kids. You guys will forget this. I promise. I promise. November will come around and you will ask me the same damn questions again. And I will tell you again, because it's not my fan base. I love you guys on the outside. I love you as close as I can, but I'm still an outsider, and I can see these things clear as day. And I will tell you the same thing that I've told you every year. I hope so. I hope I'm wrong, but I just don't think I am.
You just can't, however, resign yourself to that and enjoy the games. It's probably true. We've maybe redundantly asked you this question. I mean, that's what's coming across. But in the day-to-day, week-to-week, how could you not have hope, right? Have had hope.
Because it's still football.
And, I mean, it's still very close, too. And they beat them in the regular season 4 years in a row. So, it was never like it couldn't happen. Then it happens the way it does, and, somebody can say, told you. But
if the Bills were in the NFC, how many Super Bowls do you think you guys would have gone to?
A couple. Probably.
Right?
A couple.
That just shows you how good this team is. I think the one thing, if you're a fan of football, and the Bills are a top fan base in the NFL and also a top team in terms of the quality of people that are there, the quality of people that cover the team, the organization as a whole, the players. Josh Allen is awesome. Him and Haley Steinfeld is like the cutest thing ever. They're the real couple that I am super into versus this, Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce. This is organic. This is real. This is beautiful, super cute. I love everything about this team. So I think you just have to tip your hat to Kansas City and say maybe at some point one of these little things will go our way. And it was really close. I thought to myself, you guys would have the ball and it would be tied and you would have the chance for all the glory. And things seem to be rolling. But, man, that corner blitz was a MFer.
They would have maybe gone to a couple Super Bowls here had they been in the NFC. They would not have gone to any in the 90s, but they would have gone maybe to a couple here. Definitely could be the case.
That's fair, I think. You're still sticking with this Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift thing is like a put-on? Come on, it's been a year.
I don't think it's a put-on. I just don't think it's particularly cute.
Okay, all right. That's a different point.
It's okay.
Because last year you were skeptical. You thought this was all to sell us something.
I did. I did. And they sold us a lot, guys.
Yes.
They've sold us a lot. We've got Jason Kelsey with the late night show. Okay, we got Jason Kelsey on Monday Night Football. We've got Kylie Kelsey with her own podcast. I mean, the amount of Kelseys that have been appropriated and sold to us and shoved down our throat since Taylor Swift entered the picture is immense. The amount of money, the GDP that has gone into the Kelseys' pocket, crazy. Crazy.
And it's not over.
I don't think I was so far off. And
No,
it's
I'm not.
it's not over.
No. Well, you just thought the whole thing was a front for all that stuff, and it turns out that maybe they really do love each other. And I'm with you on the cute thing, too. But anyway,
why not both? You can have love and be opportunistic at the same time.
Trista, then will you root for Philadelphia? That seems hard for me.
I don't think I can root for either one of these damn teams. The best thing you can do in the postseason, this is how you get by, is you just bet on Kansas City every time. And you make money, and you're sick, right? You know it'll be ugly. And you just put, whatever the max you're comfortable with putting on it, you put on it. And if you're wrong, you are still ecstatic because Kansas City has been dethroned. But they won't be. So whatever it is, $100, $500, $1,000, whatever it is for you that you're comfortable sitting down and watching and feeling excitement over, that's what I'm going to do. So the number's 1.5, Kansas City. I'm taking it. And if Kansas City, the best opportunity is what happened last year when they played San Francisco. Kansas City might go down to Philly. I could see that happening very easily, a long Saquon run. If you can get Kansas City as an underdog and you get them on the money line at plus money, that's when you really put as much as you're comfortable responsibly betting on. That's Kansas City as an underdog? Oh, my God.
If they got down 7-0 or something.
Come on. Remember, they were down 10-0 to San Francisco. Put that on the money line. I forget what it was, probably plus 230. And then you could maybe even put it on Patrick Mahomes, Super Bowl MVP. Sometimes you can get better odds that way. So that's what I would do. That's the only real solace in this game.
I did, after your having said all that, bet the Bills Sunday at halftime, though. At halftime when they were down.
That was a mistake.
It wasn't a mistake. It was a loss. It wasn't 21-10. They scored to make it 21-16. They're going to do it. They're going to do it.
Mistake.
I bought it.
I think everybody, how I knew it wasn't going to happen is everyone said it was going to happen.
Yeah, well.
Every pundit were saying the Bills were going to beat Kansas City. And I said, oh, well, that's how I know for sure not.
I'm
sorry, I'm cynical. I will be in New Orleans. I wish I was going to be there with you guys.
Oh, man.
I'll be there all week, Monday through Friday. Going to be on Radio Row. Going to be there a little bit with Meta. Going to take some meetings. And then go and see some amazing, amazing music. I love New Orleans music.
Now I'm really sad.
Yeah.
I know we would have had a great time.
I mean, I would have... Yes.
Tristan, we have not been together. He and I went the first 3 years we were together, 03, 04, 05, those seasons we went. So Jacksonville, Houston, Detroit. Those have. So
could you do worse?
I know, right? Isn't that horrible, right? And, we were obviously much younger. My wife, we had a baby. She was pregnant another time. I was never comfortable. I never enjoyed it. I told him we got this, this subject came up, your guys are going to go if they win. It'll be a highlight of my career with you to go back to a Super Bowl after all this time because I don't have any, my kids are 23 and 21. I'm all set over here, But,
I made gumbo.
Get there.
I made gumbo last week to prepare. I did, to prepare for the trip.
Oh, my God, that's heartbreaking, honestly. That breaks my heart.
Did I jinx it by making
I think you might have jinxed it a few times.
Maybe I jinxed it by wanting to go. I should have hated the idea of going, and then maybe I'd have to go. I should have done that.
You should have made Kansas City ribs. Is what you should have made.
Seems brilliant now. Great idea, but too late.
I'm sorry.
The whole year, and this is something I have for Ross Tucker later too. From not the whole year, but from when they played in the regular season on, you had a Chiefs team that was winning all the close games. And a Bills team that was never losing the turnover battle. And, very smartly, I'm like, oh, well, regression's coming for one of them. If it's one of these teams, they get to the AFC Championship together. The Bills had never lost turnover battle once. The Chiefs were 11-0 in one-score games. And guess what?
They both held.
The Chiefs won another one-score game despite being -1 in turnovers. So that didn't even happen itself. Well, Trista, enjoy New Orleans. How could you not?
There's always next year, boys. We'll do better in fantasy football. We'll do better in our predictions. I'll be sharper. I'll be funnier. My mom will be healthier, and everybody will be better off for it.
And I guess I'll just have to become more contrarian.
Definitely. Cynical. More cynical.
That's what people want from me. More contrarian and cynical takes.
That's what aren't you known in Buffalo as being the optimist? Isn't that what you're known for?
Sure, yes. Let's say yes.
Oh, my God, Trista,
yes.
You have no idea who you're talking to right now.
I am optimistic. I'm an optimistic person.
Being sarcastic, Bulldog. You didn't know.
I didn't pick up on it.
More cynical than I am.
I'm still shook by the way we introduced you. But that's on me.
I know. That old lady. Get her out of here. Send the old lady off. That's the last hit of the year, too. Send the old lady off. Oh, my God. I love y'all.
Bye, Trista.
See you guys whenever.
Trista Crick, Meta, world traveler, credenza enthusiast. These might be the gumbo pants, actually.
Did you wash them?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not sure because they've been washed, whether these were those, the gumbo pants. Can't tell you.
There was one day in here, I wasn't here gumbo pants day. Gumbo pants day. You were wearing black slacks one day last week, and I thought maybe they were the Lucky Pants from the Sabres from like 06.
Oh, yeah, when I went out. Yeah, I went out one night. That's right.
Yeah.
No. I doubt it.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not sure. Too long ago.
I didn't think to bring it up on the air, but...
The Lucky Pants from the 06 Sabres were red.
What?
They were red pants. They were pants that I bought for I don't think it was a costume, but at like a antique store kind of place. They were red. I think they were red. They're too small.
You couldn't be more wrong about your pants.
Really? Okay.
You had some flashy red checked pants that you bought to wear to 70s night at the arena.
That's right. That's what I thought.
With like a ruby red sort of blazer, different thing. The Lucky Pants were black.
Okay. Well, you're probably right.
Sorry that I know your wardrobe better than you.
Yes. Okay. Ross Tucker at 5. We'll look for your calls again next. 803-0550. Sabres and Bruins. Pregame at 6 on WGR.
We know you can't hear every
Two more Bills have been named to this year's Pro Bowl roster, running back James Cook and center Connor McGovern. They are being named as alternates in place of Derrick Henry and Creed Humphrey. For Cook, this is his second Pro Bowl selection. McGovern, his first. And for more on this, we do have a piece up at our website, WGR550.com. And the Bills also announced some reserve future contracts, wide receivers Terrell Shavers and Jalen Virgil. Some more coaching news in the NFL. Former Bears head coach Matty Eberflus is joining the Cowboys staff as the team's defensive coordinator, and the Lions are bringing in Broncos pass game coordinator John Morton to be the team's new offensive coordinator. On to the draft, as Senior Bowl practices did get underway today in Mobile, Alabama. Practices will continue through Wednesday and Thursday, with the game being held on Saturday at 2:30. NFL GMs then are speaking with the media, and Browns general manager Andrew Berry threw some water on growing speculation the team may try to trade star edge rusher Myles Garrett, saying he is not interested in any of that and wants Garrett to retire in Cleveland. And the Sabres, they are in action tonight. They host Boston, 7 p.m. puck drop. Pregame getting underway at 6. Nicolas Aube-Kubel cleared waivers today. He's going to report to Rochester. And with that, Tyson Kozak has been recalled to Buffalo. It's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Kickoff 2025 of the new Chevy from Paddock. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Even though we didn't get what we wanted, we all had the same mindset. Like, we all knew what the goal was, we all knew what the objective was, and we was working towards that. And even though the cards didn't fall our way, I feel like we can run it back. I'm definitely excited to hear the coaches are coming back. Hopefully we get as many players we can get to come back as we can, so we can build from this and not start over, but just start from now and build and just get better.
Osiris Torrance. Bills into the offseason after Sunday's loss. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. Ross Tucker at 5. Paul Hamilton with the Sabres pregame show coming up at 6. Ross will be on with us the following 2 weeks as well. Just work that out. Breaking.
Nice.
Here is Paulo next. Hello, Paulo.
Hi, guys. Thanks for taking my call.
You're welcome.
First time, long time from Canada. Sorry if, any previous comments have been made by any previous callers, but, I think all offseason we wondered what this team would look like without an ex-receiver, losing Diggs and Gabe Davis, and it worked in the regular season, but in the biggest games of the year, like the Denver game, the Baltimore game, and Sunday, I think it bit them in the butt because Cooper and Coleman were really invisible, really invisible. I'll hang up and listen. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure thing, Paulo, and thanks for listening all these years. I think it should be some level of priority. I don't think it outweighs potentially what they need to do, especially on the back end of their defense. I think I would advise they shop for a corner to replace Douglas myself rather than re-sign him. But that's just me, and it's only the second day since the season ended. So, I'm not, totally, hitching my wagon to that for sure. But a receiver, I think, if they don't re-sign Cooper, and I also wouldn't really advocate for doing that, they felt the need to go get Cooper. So if he leaves, I think, bring everyone else back, re-sign Mac Hollins to something modest, fine. He played a role here that mattered to them, outside and inside, on the field and off. I think there's definitely room for another skill guy out there, particularly someone really not trying to be a jerk. I loved Xavier Worthy's skill set for this team last year in the draft. It broke my heart when they traded that pick to Kansas City, and Kansas City made that pick.
I think it's been pretty impressive that he has been more than just somebody that can run deep routes.
Yeah.
They used him short and intermediate, and the Bills, I don't know if they didn't like Worthy, but all year, even with its success, the offense was always really short. Think of how it looked toward the end when they weren't even throwing the ball past the line of scrimmage very often. Incredible. That was taking shape last year, and it was this year mostly, and they won almost every game. So, would that have precluded them from Worthy some kind of philosophical point about their offense? I don't know. Coleman was meant to be somewhat of a field stretcher. himself. But what? Khalil Shakir. This is, speaking of wagons or large moving vehicles like trains, the wide receiver train, I think, keeps running.
Yes.
I mean, with all the winning and all the points, somebody's shuddering at bring back Mac Hollins. Somebody's shuddering at the idea that Coleman is going to be, a star. What you want is a star. And maybe those things will pay off. Maybe they'll do that. I also don't think Cooper is even worth talking about. No, you didn't say it that bluntly. I don't think he's even worth talking about. That didn't work. So for me, it wouldn't be him. And you've got Shakir, who is this, dare I say, fine, good, nice player. Mm-hmm. 3 playoff games, 6 for 61, 6 for 67, 6 for 46. Who's more consistent than Shakir? 4 touchdowns, for the season. Doesn't give you red zone, doesn't give them, big plays unless it's a broken tackle and he's able to run wild. It's just this, if he's got to be the best receiver on the team. It's just this. So it's two different things. What do we want? What do we expect? Do we want them to go into next year with somebody most people would think is better than Shakir? I think in a vacuum, any team should want that. Mm-hmm. Do we expect the Bills to do that? I absolutely do not, because this season worked for them. Their offense was very productive, and I would think that maybe it is Hollins. Maybe there'll probably be a lot of talk about Coleman, that, ramping up and all the different things you say about a guy who just sort of did only okay as a rookie. And then what does the season look like? Maybe it looks like this one. Maybe Trista's really the smart one here. Just don't even care about it anymore and just know they're going to lose. Would you take right now AFC Championship at Arrowhead next year?
Yes.
You have to say yes, right? How could you not take that?
I'd rather it be at home, final game ever at the stadium. They clinch a chance to go to the. That's very romantic, and sure, I think you'd be insane to say no. I right here, sight unseen, unknowing any of it. Yeah. And furthermore, I mean, it gets harder and harder to say this, and I'll take having the ball in my quarterback's hands at midfield with 2 minutes to go, down 3.
Every time.
I think you have to make that deal. Although for some reason I was so optimistic about this game that late last week I would not make that deal because I thought the Bills were going to win by like 13.
Yes,
I'm also a moron.
You rejected that.
Yeah.
That's one that really Trista should know about that. Scott is with us. Hi, Scott.
Hi, guys. I have a couple comments, both wide receiver type comments. First one, I've grown to really like this Mac Hollins guy. I never even heard of him before he came here, and I really don't know what I like more, his receiving ability or his outfits he wears. But and as far as the draft, I know they draft 30th. How is the wide receiver core coming out of college this year? Is there a chance we could maybe draft a guy? I'll hang up and listen.
Of course, there'd be a chance they could draft a guy at 30. It's not as deep as last year's. Last year's, when in terms of the depth, didn't exactly prove to be amazing, and Coleman's included in that. So, sure, there's options there. I think the better question or point would be that they've just done it twice, and the two guys gave them 3 catches in the AFC Championship game combined, and the game-losing drop. So their defense ended the season in rough shape. And they have invested in offense with their top draft picks, and they've really, done great. Not the players always, but the offense.
Right.
So I think it's Fred's turn. It's defense's turn for me, decidedly.
Yep.
With that first pick.
Sitting here right now, today, I wouldn't rule out a second-round pick. They've got 2 of them, like you said when we talked about this earlier. But if I were a betting man, or I could bet on the results of the draft anyway, Saturday is where I'd be, 3rd round, 4th, somewhere in there. They don't have a 3rd rounder, right? They traded that.
They do not.
Cooper, right?
They do not have a 3rd. They have 2 seconds, both fairly late. Adam is next. Hi, Adam.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Okay, thank you.
Hey, guys. So I wanted to talk about, because I have to get the blame on someone. And I think McDermott coached his rear end off this year. I think Josh did exactly what he needed to do with the weapons that he had. But I really think that this falls on Brandon Beane. I get it. He's got some good draft picks and stuff. And I know all the draft picks are basically lottery picks. But I need him to learn that he can't be making deals with your direct competitors. I don't know when he's going to learn that, because now you set yourself up for a horrible narrative about the Xavier Worthy thing at the end of the year. You almost look foolish, like the Chiefs took advantage of you in April. Like if he can't learn that, I don't fully trust him to make the right decisions. How do I know that this offseason he's not going to try to sign Khalil Mack just to bring him back to Buffalo because he's from here? Something like that, some desperation move.
Okay. I guess I don't have an answer for you. I don't know that he won't do that, and I don't know. Are we sure Khalil Mack would be a desperation move? I don't know. I guess it depends on what it costs and what we all decide what kind of form he's in. But he's going to keep playing. I don't know. That's not the worst idea I've ever heard. Anyway, just right out of the box. I haven't really thought much about it.
Yeah, if that's the example of like how he needs to get his head screwed on straight, I'm not sure it's a bad idea either.
Yeah.
Depending what it would cost.
Yeah. So, I mean, I appreciate that you want someone to blame. So you got to point the finger at someone. But I went through this. I'll give you the Cliff Notes. The idea that Beane and McDermott aren't collectively choosing the players for this team is absurd. So stop with it's Beane and not McDermott. Like, they're the same. To me, for the purpose of the conversation, what the Buffalo Bills choose to do personnel-wise is they're all in a room deciding. And that Beane is like saddling McDermott with people that he doesn't want or something, or he's the one responsible for the choices that are made solely, so therefore it's his fault that, whatever. Any example the caller just used. I don't think it really holds any water.
What's kind of I don't want to put it that way. It's so tough. The whole year we talked, anytime the name Xavier Worthy came up, it was to say, well, so far so good. The Bills are cruising and we're not living in fear of these moves. Diggs, who got hurt, or Worthy, who was, fine. There it is again this year for the Chiefs. Then you have that game, and he's dangerous, and your guy isn't. And now it's like a parade of, How could you trade with Kansas City? I mean, I can't go back on how I felt about that before one football game happened 2 days ago, which is, I don't mind if you trade with Kansas City. They've got Mahomes. They've got Reed. You'd expect the receiver they draft to look good. You have Allen. You'd expect the guy that you draft to look good. That's what it comes down to. So maybe it should have been obvious to me or to everybody that he was so clearly better than Coleman or any of the eight other options. But I don't know, what is he supposed... That's it. I don't want to go too far on this because maybe this is what we're going to be hearing until the draft.
I mean, if we're I'm happy to tell you when I screw something up, like being really mad at McDermott after that Eagles game, and joining the crowd that wants him fired and realizing that was a mistake on my part. I hated the second that trade was made. It terrified me. I'm with the caller. Hang up the phone. The call's coming from inside the house. Just get out. Do not take the call. That was where I was on draft night, and sure, it got quelled as the season went on. I didn't feel like the Bills were missing Xavier Worthy on their team this year as the season went on, and we had this joyride, and nor did I feel like, whatever he's doing for Kansas City, fine, but then you get to the game, and he's the most explosive player on the field. Great.
Also, I love trading down. I wasn't living in fear of this trade or anything like that myself. But they didn't do great, if you remember, in the trade. There wasn't that much of a win by the charts and all the things like that. The guy that it came down to would have been Dwayne Carter. He's the extra pick or the move-up pick that they got, and he was inactive in the playoffs.
That's right.
You kind of did it for him. Ultimately, you didn't know it was going to be him at the time, but the value of the third over the fifth is what we're talking about. And the receivers are interchangeable enough that the Bills were willing to do it as they saw it. 803-0550, a lot of revisionists when we get to the end of the season and, some latent takes come out. Ross Tucker at 5, Sabres and Bruins tonight here on WGR.
More of Schopp and
it's also depressing. Talking about is whether this time Travis Kelce will retire. Remember last year?
Yeah.
Some speculation about that. He had a great playoff. The Bills, denied the Chiefs Kelce on Sunday. He had gone, who had the stat? Joe, maybe 14 playoff games in a row with 70 yards or more. And it was 19 maybe on Sunday. Like, he was just not a factor at all. But, to win anyway. All right. That's all I have to say about that. Here is Don with us next. Hello, Don.
Hey, how are you?
Good. Thank you for calling us, Don.
I don't know if this is not why I called. I've just got to say, I don't know which one of you guys a minute ago you were talking about the what I think was a terrible move. Obviously, hindsight is 20/20, but the swap, which ended up with Worthy there and Coleman here.
That's me. I hated it. Yeah.
Yeah. One of you guys said a minute ago, I couldn't tell which one, said, "Don't pick up the phone. The phone's coming. The call's coming from in the house."
Yeah.
That was hilarious. That was spontaneous and hilarious.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Had me rolling, but that's not why I called. This is either a really insightful and interesting question or a dumb question, but let me tell you let me see what you guys think.
I love the possibilities here.
So I grew up in Buffalo. I live in North Carolina now. Huge Bills fan. Made my son into a Bills fan. He's a huge Bills fan too. So when this happens, as obviously it happens every year, we go into a depression of a certain, me and the whole city of Buffalo and you guys also go into a certain amount of depression over, and every day I guess it gets a little better. Here's my question. In soccer, so let's say in England, you've got these small towns like Liverpool and Ipswich. These people live for the matches. I wonder, is it worse for us or worse for them when they get knocked out?
How would I know? How would we know?
I don't know.
Yeah. You mean knocked out of the Premier League entirely? You mean like get relegated, or you mean just lose to Man City because they're undermanned?
Lose to Man City, and they're done. They're done. I mean, these are people that they wear the clothes like we wear the clothes.
What's the difference, really?
It seems like the same existence. You want your team to win, and they don't. I think it's worse when you feel like you don't have a chance. The Bills at least can, they have a chance. They have a seat at the table. They're one of the best teams in the league year over year here now for 5 years. And, Ipswich took a generation to get back to the Premier League. And I don't know how in danger of going back down they are, but it's a very different existence, I think. I mean, it's similar in that it feels like I'm never going to get there at times, but
Liverpool wins titles.
Oh, right. That's right. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how I would know the answer. How it feels different. Seems like a pretty basic thing to know what it feels like when your team loses, and it would probably hurt to any sport, any fan that really cared about it. Thanks, Don. Ross Tucker after sports. This is WGR.
Former NFLer and Odyssey insider Ross Tucker.
AFC Pro Bowl roster, running back James Cook and center Connor McGovern. They are alternates for Derrick Henry and Creed Humphrey. For Cook, this is his second Pro Bowl selection, and McGovern his first. For more on this, we do have a piece up at our website, WGR550.com. And the Bills also did announce today 2 reserve future contracts, wide receivers Terrell Shavers and Jalen Virgil. Some more coaching news in the NFL. Former Bears head coach Matt Eberflus going to Dallas as he'll join the team as their new defensive coordinator. The Lions are bringing in Broncos passing game coordinator John Morton to be the team's new offensive coordinator. And Commanders OC Cliff Kingsbury officially is going to stay with Washington. And then the draft may be a few months away, but the Senior Bowl, their practices in Mobile, Alabama, got underway this afternoon. They'll continue through Wednesday and Thursday, with the game being held on Saturday at 2:30. Sabres are in action tonight. They host Boston, 7 p.m. puck drop. Pregame getting underway in just about an hour at 6. Nicholas Abe-Kubel, he cleared waivers, so he's going to report to Rochester. And with that, Tyson Kozak has been recalled to Buffalo. While in college hoops, UB men host Central Michigan. Pregame at 6:30 for a 7 p.m. tip. And that's going to be on our sister station, the Bet 1520. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Kickoff 2025 with the new Chevy from Paddock. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Ross Tucker's appearance on WGR is being brought to you by Northwest Bank. For what's next, get started at northwest.com.
Welcome back. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. The Bills, as you know, are not going to the Super Bowl. Here to discuss their loss and the sudden arrival of the offseason. It's always seems sudden. Maybe I could have been better prepared. Odyssey NFL insider Ross Tucker. Make sure to check out the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, daily NFL podcast on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. Hi, Ross.
Hey, guys. How are you?
We're dealing.
Yeah, we're okay. I'm rebounding nicely today, I feel like. Did you feel like as you were watching that final possession for the Bills, like that they were going to do it?
Yeah, I did. I think I told you guys last week, I certainly said on the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, I picked the Bills to win the game, 24-23. Really thought it was time. I had referenced Steve Young and the Niners not able to knock off the Cowboys, or Peyton Manning and the Colts not able to knock off Brady and the Patriots. I really thought it was time, and when James Cook was floating through the air, I thought it was time.
What a play that was.
When they had a 1-point lead and they had the ball in Chiefs territory or midfield, wherever that was, I thought it was time. It's really, really disappointing, really unfortunate, and I know I'm preaching to the choir here. I mean, the people listening right now care about it even more than I do, that's for sure. I know it's my favorite team I played for, but everybody listening right now, it's been their favorite team their whole lives, and they live and die with it. And I was really hurting. I mean, you have no idea how many tweets I had ready, how many thoughts I had ready for after the Bills won. I mean, I had my Labatt Blue Light ready. I mean, I was ready.
Yeah.
I was very ready. It was going to be my dream Super Bowl. Eagles-Bills was my absolute dream Super Bowl, my childhood team that I now do some work for, and my favorite team I played for, and we were close, man. We were really close.
In a game so close, there can be lots of different takes on what the difference was. We had a caller yesterday who I thought put it pretty brilliantly that it was a 3-point game, but the Chiefs were kind of better at everything. There was no area where the Bills were the better team, at least arguably. And then talking to Arcel Capaccio yesterday, I asked him, why did they lose? And he said short yardage, which is pretty stunning, Ross. I mean, Allen getting stuffed on 1 yard to go plays multiple times was not what I expected.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you're going to ask about the officiating, and we can get into that. For me, it's pretty simple. They had their opportunities, and they didn't make the most of it. Cole Bishop, I know there ended up being a holding penalty on the play anyway, but I would say the Cole Bishop play to me is somewhat emblematic of the issue. That has to be an interception or maybe incomplete. You can't let Xavier Worthy rip the ball away from you. Curtis Samuel's wide open on a crossing route. He's going to get at least 30 yards, and with his ability, maybe take it to the house. They don't connect on that.
Right.
I know a lot of people talked about the Kincaid drop. The getting stuffed 3 times on the quarterback sneak is very disappointing on multiple levels. Number one, that they couldn't get it done, but number two, I really thought they got outcoached in the game, and it's disappointing. If Tony Romo's sitting there saying, in these situations they like Mahomes to roll out to the right, and they do it twice and the Bills have nobody there, or, the end of the game, they have a chance to get the ball back and, P. Ryan and Pacheco are both wide open, or when Spagnuolo comes with that blitz, 2 guys come scot-free, and the Bills don't really have any good answer for it. Even I really disliked even going through that third quarterback, that quarterback sneak after they gotten stuffed a couple times. He's 250 pounds. He when he gets ahead of steam, who is stopping that from getting a half a yard? Unless the Chiefs got penetration on a quarterback power or quarterback sweep, he's getting it. I did not love them going back with that call again. And, these things all get magnified, obviously, when it's a big game like that. But I thought the Bills had opportunities. Again, they didn't make the most of them with the aforementioned plays. Felt like they got out-coached, and maybe that's just the way it is.
I think that's fair. I mean, I think everything that Reed. I mean, it felt to me like Reed really curveballed them with the Mahomes runs. They just were not ready for that at all. And, to be fair, though, also on the other side, if it's not something they've done all year, I'm not sure how ready you should be for it, right? And that's a part of that Spagnuolo blitz on 4th and 5 at the end, too, isn't it? Like, at least to my ears, the Bills players explaining it said they gave us that look a lot in the game and even in the regular season meeting, but never sent those guys. It was a Trojan horse kind of thing. And
so first of all, you can't get to 4th and 5. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, number one, you don't want to get to the point where you're out of 4th and 5. Number two, he likes to blitz. He likes to bring blitzes. There's got to be some type of quick answer, even if you don't have it picked up. He brings exotic pressure from the secondary. And I don't want to get too complicated. I know Fitzpatrick's done stuff and Orlovsky, and it was a nice blitz and it was a good design and all that. But everybody's got to be on high alert. It's 4th and 5. They're going to bring a blitz we haven't seen. It's going to involve somebody from the secondary. And there's got to be an answer to get the ball out of his hands quickly. And it's just very, 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 very frustrating.
Ross, do you have a take specific to Allen here? Like, he was kind of messy early in this game, ends up 29 points, and there was a lot good. And then the ending, you mentioned a few other things already. Do you come away, I'm asking, do you come away with a different opinion about Allen from another playoff loss or no?
Not really. I think he's amazing. I think he's my favorite player to watch in the NFL. I think he's fantastic. I guess the Curtis Samuel throw is the one that stands out to me negatively. But on the list of reasons why the Bills lost that game, Josh Allen is not in the top 10 for me. He's the least of the Bills' issues. He's the biggest reason why they're even in that situation. And it feels to me like, yet again, he'll never say this, but it feels to me like he was failed a little bit by the people around him again, unfortunately. And that's the part that really hurts. I don't have an answer for why it seems like the people around Josh Allen and to a lesser extent Lamar Jackson fail them, but the people around Mahomes seems like they don't. I mean, you guys, whoever, he even got the fumble. You won the turnover battle. The Chiefs had the costly fumble, and you still lost. And that's the thing. You win the turnover battle, and you still lose. That's the one that's hard to stomach.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of what they do, it looks great. I mean, the season they just had, second in the league in points. Defense kind of struggled, though, maybe badly in several games down the stretch. And in this game, the last two playoff games, it took them a long time to bring about one punt from the Ravens and then the Chiefs.
Not good enough.
Yeah.
They're not good enough on that side of the ball. There's absolutely no question. To see the Rams put up that many points, to see the Lions put up that many points, the Ravens turned it over 3 times, and they still should have tied it. They still should have scored 27 points and tied it if Andrews doesn't drop that. That's the other thing. I mean, they easily could have lost that game, right?
Yep.
And then the Chiefs, that's the most points they've scored all year, and they could have scored even more on the last drive, but obviously they were just taking a knee there. They need to get better on that side of the ball, and they need to figure out ways to get better on that side of the ball because, they had Milano and Bernard in this game. Now, they lost Benford, and maybe part of the answer is they need to get better in the secondary. Maybe it's corner, maybe it's safety, maybe it's another D lineman. But I guess I would say, and I like Bobby Babich, but I would say that I think they have better talent on defense than the points that they gave up. I think he does a nice job, and maybe the secondary just had that much of a weakness. But that was one of my takeaways as well.
Yeah, I mean, we're already into where to plug holes and offense, defense, D-line, corner, receiver, all of it. I said to lead off today, Ross, that even with you just now at the beginning of your segment with us, I'm rebounding already to this extent. Last year at this time, they lost to this team at home, one round earlier than they did, but very similar game. Allen with the ball in his hand with a chance to win it, and they couldn't get it done. And same thing happened on Sunday. But last year at this time, we kind of knew. We didn't know they were going to trade Diggs. In fact, at this time, I thought the idea of trading him was absurd because of the $31 million dead money. But they did that in addition to Hyde and Poyer and Tre'Davious White and Mitch Morse. I mean, they turned it over. And I felt like there was going to be more hole plugging than anything else as far as improving goes. This year, sure, there's going to be holes to fill. There always are. But I feel like the guts of the team is more intact than it was at this time last year.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think that I have faith in Brandon Beane to add to it. And for them to be this good this year with the issues they had with the dead money for Diggs says a lot. I mean, this was kind of supposed to be, I think, a retooling year. So maybe you could say they're a year ahead of schedule, and with some additions next year that they'll be even better and they'll be right there. But I'll say this, I'm a little bit concerned about their psyche. How many times can you come up short? How many times can this happen? That's something I've definitely thought about.
So Philadelphia's on a nice roll. 55 points in the NFC Championship seemed good. Do you like them in the Super Bowl?
No, I mean,
no.
I mean, look, I was on the sideline, for the NFC Championship game. The Eagles have the best roster. The Eagles have the best team, and it's hard to imagine somebody beating them when Jalen Hurts plays that well. But he played awesome in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and they still lost to the Chiefs. I mean, I think it might be more therapeutic for all of us if we just resign ourselves to it at this point. It's just it's unbelievable. I mean, the Eagles had the best roster 2 years ago, and the question mark quarterback played the best game of his career maybe, and they still lost. How is that possible? And what I've been saying about the Super Bowl is, I love the idea of I think the Eagles can win the game, but if it's a one-score game Who are you taking? Are you taking Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni or Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes? And as good as the Eagles are, I don't think they're going to beat them by 2 scores. I don't think they're going to blow them out. So I do think it'll be a close game. And in a close game, I'm gonna take, Mahomes and Andy Reid to get it done because they always do. I think on my betting podcast today, the Even Money podcast, I think my co-host, who's the math guy, said that the odds of winning 17 straight one-score games is 1 in 125,000.
Yeah.
To win 17 one-score, because it's basically like a coin flip. Now, he did acknowledge the Chiefs are better than that, so it's better than a coin flip, but still, it's the odds of them doing what they've done are still really, really, really small.
Right. That's the number they've already hit, right? 17, 12-0 this year. Last year's last 3 postseason games. 17
going back to last year, including the playoff games.
Yep.
And by the way, it's not like they're playing like bad teams. And these are playoff games, against the Bills and the Ravens and all these teams that we know to be very good. I don't know. I mean, I know we only have a couple minutes left, so I do want to touch on the officiating.
Okay.
Because I did a video about this. I thought Josh Allen on the last quarterback sneak, I thought he got the first down. Now, I haven't studied it like the Zapruder film to see, I thought he got to the 40.
Yeah.
And it looked to me like if he got to the 40, it was a first down, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I would tell you is I got a couple thoughts for you guys. Number one, being on the sideline for NFC Championship game and being behind the side judge and back judge a bunch. One thing that jumped out to me is with the Eagles doing the tush push, that is impossible. That is, I mean, a football field's 53 1/3 yards wide. Those guys are in the white. They're not in the green. So they're at least 27 yards away. They don't have X-ray vision, dude. To be 27 yards away and to look through an 18-person mass of humanity and think that you know where the ball is or where the guy's elbow or knee or shin touched down, no chance. Which is why, on the Bills Josh Allen play, you had one guy coming in on one side of the 40, the other guy coming on the other side of the 40. What I would say is if that's the case, then the ball should have been spotted on the 40 and should have been a first down. However, the 2 plays that people talk the most about, right, the Worthy play and the quarterback sneak, they reviewed both of them. Okay, this isn't like the week before against the Texans when they were illegal hits on Mahomes and, they called the flags on roughing Mahomes and then they went ahead and there's nothing you can do about it. They reviewed both and they didn't overturn either one, which means it wasn't that obvious. It wasn't that, I think I agree with Gene Steratore and Nance. I thought Josh got it. But I can also see how it wasn't enough to overturn the ruling on the field. And the same with the Worthy play, which, by the way, there was a holding penalty on the Bills anyway.
Yeah, they reviewed that for field position. Yeah.
Why did Sean challenge that? I don't really understand. That seems like a no-win challenge in my mind, or certainly not. The pros don't outweigh the cons on that one, but I just can't get worked up in it that much about it because they reviewed both. They took a second look at both, and if it was blatantly obvious, they would have overturned it. You know what I mean? It was very clear either one of those, they would have overturned it, but they didn't because it wasn't indisputable visual evidence. And so I don't know. I know a lot of Buffalo people. You're hardworking, tough people. You grew up kind of like I did. We were taught personal responsibility, accountability. Bills had a million things that they could have done differently. If you give the ball to Josh on a quarterback power, it's a lot easier for the refs to see that, if you do the quarterback sneak, you're putting it in the side judge and field judge's hands. Whereas if you run a quarterback power and Josh plows over the 40-yard line, then we're not even having this discussion.
Yeah. You said earlier, don't get to 4th and 5. On that one, it's 2nd and 8. They throw short. It's 3rd and 3. They throw short, and they got themselves to 4th and 1.
Yeah. Well, here on the advice, the life advice. We know you got to go, but what you just said, I think, is the most that the officiating has been talked about on our show in the last 2 days. Just so you know, like we're not in here like running that up the flagpole like crazy. Just so you know.
Wow. Well, you're the only one, so congratulations.
Right.
Thanks, Ross. Talk next week.
All right, see you guys.
There you go. That's Ross Tucker, Odyssey NFL Insider Ross Tucker, by the way. Make sure to check out the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, daily NFL podcast on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
I've neither studied the Allen play on the level of the Zapruder film. You know what I have studied? The Zapruder film.
Zapruder film?
I
Yeah.
have studied that.
That was going to be the line there.
Yeah, you probably did. I spat it out because I knew you were going to say it, I think, is what happened there. I have studied that. Happy to take your questions. It's pretty amazing, isn't it, that it exists?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so.
Here's a guy, he's a dressmaker. He takes a break from work to see the president, and he puts himself with this camera, not like everybody had those. He puts himself in the absolute perfect position to film what he filmed. Which, of course, probably to many makes him
it was rigged.
Very suspicious.
Yes.
How did he know?
The Russians put him there.
I've heard that. I don't know about Russians. I have heard that. I mean, you hear it all when it comes to JFK, but...
Oh, cut it out. You know
amazing.
It was the Russians. I'm kidding. This guy.
And they took him to a Kodak facility to develop it, but there was something about, like, they didn't have the equipment for... whatever his was, black and white, or for color. For color, maybe. It's a color film. And so that took a minute. Then he ends up selling it on, like, the next day or that day even, maybe, to Life magazine for $50,000. Like the original. And he had other media companies sort of waiting for him. You know how they say, like, a coaching candidate, don't let him leave the stadium. Don't let him leave. Don't let him out of the room.
Right.
Life magazine was like, I'm not leaving the room, and he upped them to $50,000. They started at like 10, and he got 50, and they left the room with the film, and everybody else was like, we didn't even get a chance to negotiate with you.
I think in today's dollars, that's roughly $11 billion.
It's a lot, yes. So
now you know the rest of the story.
Right. Has the show ever sounded older than that? There's a little tangent for you.
That just happened. Oh.
Retooling, Ross and other ones to sort of make the point that this was not supposed to be this good of a season. One of many things we can be talking about. I mean, they never lost in turnovers once in 20 games, and the division fell apart. Maybe they were about as good as we kind of thought they'd be. Good, not great. Allen's great, got him close. Yes, could have won Sunday. Yes, could have lost the Raven game. Here we are. 803-0550. Your call's next. Pregame for Sabres Bruins at 6 here on WGR.
Play sports headlines.
Two more Bills have joined the league's Pro Bowl on the AFC side of things. Running back James Cook and center Connor McGovern. They are alternates for Derrick Henry and Creed Humphrey. For Cook, this is his second Pro Bowl selection and second in as many years, and McGovern's first of his career. For more on that, we do have a piece up at our website, WGR550.com. And the Bills also announced more reserve future contracts, wide receivers Terrell Shavers and Jalen Virgil. More coaching news in the league. Former Bears head coach Matt Eberflus joining the Cowboy staff. He's going to be their new defensive coordinator, while the Lions continue to rebuild their coaching staff after they got rated for head coaching positions. They are bringing in Broncos pass game coordinator John Morton as the new offensive coordinator. And then Senior Bowl practices got underway today in Mobile, Alabama. Practices will continue on Wednesday and Thursday, with the game being held on Saturday at 2:30. And then the Sabres, they are in action tonight. They host Boston, 7 p.m. puck drop, pregame getting underway just about a half hour at 6. Nicholas Abe-Kubel cleared waivers. He's going to report to Rochester, while Tyson Kozak has been recalled to Buffalo. That's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Kickoff 2025 of the new Chevy from Paddock. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Patrick Mahomes is like Tiger Woods on Sunday wearing that red polo. In that moment when Tiger on Sunday and you're in that group, you know when it's time to make that critical putt, that critical play, he's going to make it. And so you know what happens? His competitors get tight because they know Tiger Woods is not going to get tight. He's going to make the right play. He's going to do that. That's what we're seeing from Patrick Mahomes right now. All of these guys are playing spectacular. But you know what he does? He makes the right play at the right time, and the other guys simply cannot make those plays.
Damian Woody. It's, again, this year, and maybe with each year it gets louder or gets to be more people. It probably should. Ross, Trista, Nick Kostos. I watched him on Sunday with Sam. Like, come on, you guys. This isn't hard, Chiefs. Pat Doherty, I know, has been this way for 2 years. Roto Pat at Roto World. Like, guys. And yet, my hand is way up in the air here. So the guy that is not going to be the one to bet on Kansas City and have them lose. I refuse. I am just too stubborn. I'm a Scorpio. I'm not betting on the Chiefs because everybody else says how obvious it is to do it, and they always win. They could lose without being tight. It almost happened. And that's the problem, isn't it? It almost happened a bunch of times. It almost happened when Zay Flowers fumbled on the 1 yard line. It's always almost happening. The Bills last year. So you have me to thank. Nick, Roto Pat, Ross, Trista. You've got me to thank because I'm the one out there betting against them. I'm martingaling the Chiefs every time they win, and you hear all these people tell you, of course they won. Don't be stupid. That's me. Hi, I'm stupid. I'm the one. I'm not going to miss an opportunity to bet against them and have it happen when they lose.
Did you bet the Bills up to -6.5 on Sunday? Because I did that.
Really? When? What score? Like.
I just alternate spread.
Oh, before the game.
Part of a parlay. I took them at. I thought it was on that. You're not surprised to hear that. I was on that all week. Like this is gonna be easy.
Easy.
I mean, easy is a bit of an overstatement, but it's gonna be fine.
At least I didn't bet the game until it was halftime and there were better odds, but. At least it was right to think like this game will probably be close, and then like Damian Woody here, everybody who's saying that is saying like, well, who are you going to bet on if it's close? Because I never thought the Chiefs would like not keep it close with the Bills, and then it happened to be the same game again.
Yeah. I like the golf analogy that he's using there because I think what he's telling you there. I mean, he's talking about the end, and he's going to make the putt. He's going to do the thing. I'm thinking of teeing off at 2:12 p.m. on Sunday at Augusta in a final group with Woods, and you hook your drive into the woods because you know who you're playing. That's what Allen looked like at the start of the game. I don't know that he was that tangled up, but he certainly looked messy to start the game with those errant passes and the drop snap and all that. He got better, but To me, you can lose the tournament on the,
Yes.
you put up a 7 because you're in the pine needles on one. Like, good luck getting that back.
Not what happened here ultimately,
that's right.
but yeah, could have.
Well, they didn't score any points, those first couple drives. So
Right.
I mean, it can impact.
Right, get ahead. That's the Ravens' point.
Right.
They got behind.
Yep.
Here's Mark with us next. Hi, Mark.
Hey, good afternoon, guys. I was commenting on or listening to Ross talking what he was saying about how the plays were all reviewed and they all didn't get changed. And my comment on that is it was always forcing the Bills to overcome a call on the field. Regardless, like the line judge on the interception/catch came in instantaneously before the players had even hit the ground. He's coming in and calling it a catch. So now the Bills have to refute the catch, and you have to prove that. And so, no, it's a catch because that's what calls on the field. The fourth down call, he blasts through, 2 officials coming in from opposite sides. They don't blend it together like the clock and make it the 40. They say, no, he's short, forcing the Bills to then challenge it and undo that play. It would be nice if the officials at times said, actually, the play before the fourth down, Dalton Kincaid clearly had the first down, but the official clearly came in and moved the ball back without ever saying, were his knees actually down, which replay shows they were not. He was like James Cook. He was off the ground and over the 40, always forcing the other team, not just the Bills, any team Kansas City has played. You don't win 17 straight just because you have a good quarterback. You win 17 straight when you have other teams in the position always to refute what is being called on the field.
So your point is you think it's intentional? It's a scam?
No. I'm just saying it piles up a lot in Casey's favor.
Well,
I don't think I was an official. I'm not refuting. I'm not saying that's not a hard job, but I'm saying when you automatically come in and call everything instantaneously, where if there is a replay, the other team always has to refute your call on the field. It's like a fumble. You always say, don't blow the whistle.
You're really not saying that it's meant to benefit Kansas City? I don't think instantaneously is your point. Most calls are made quickly. That's what they're shooting for. They also have a sky ref in their ear telling them where to spot the ball. So they want it to be done quickly, but you're really not saying you think it's just because it's Kansas City. Why would the speed of the call have anything to do with which team gets the call?
I'm saying that it just piles up in Casey's favor. Just overall, look at any call, not just a Bills game, any call during the season. Calls pile up in their favor. Whether that's intentional or not, I'm not saying. I'm just saying that's how you win 17 straight.
Are you sure you're right? Are you sure you're right? If we looked up the 17 one-score games, they would have the penalty advantage in how many?
The penalty? I didn't say penalty. I said calls that go to review. Those are penalties.
Okay,
on the field.
That's right, but I don't know another way to actually evaluate that honestly. They're home in these games. They're close games. They're good.
I don't refute any of that. I don't refute Casey's goodness. They're a great team.
Yeah.
They know how to win games.
Home teams get calls.
All we're really doing, Mark, is going over and over the machinations of reviews. Like the call gets made, and if it's not in your favor, you have to review it. And so, that happened. It happened in a couple of big spots on Sunday, and that's that it can be a lot to overcome. You need to have the evidence to overturn it, and in those two examples, they simply did not. I really appreciated you getting a blast in about the blended clock, though, Mark. Thank you.
I actually worked up to that one.
Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't. I'll tell you, I never heard that before Sunday.
Never before. Yeah, never before the blended clock. I'm not saying it's never happened. I don't watch every game, but blended clock, okay.
I am right with Ross. I'm right with Ross about the whole take. Yeah, these are close plays, and they happen to have gone one way in this game. And it's so easy to just, possibly this is what the caller has done, assume that it's always what happens. There were questionable calls the week before. There is this reputation. We talked about it some last week, despite, desperately trying to avoid it because it's so frustrating. It's frustrating whether you think it's real or whether you think it's not. Either way, it's just like not a fun conversation. I just think what he said is it. If you want better results in these particular, on these plays, you have to do more around them, if not on them. Don't get to 4th and 5, he says on Kincaid, not a ref point. I'm saying it about 4th and 1, right? Like their offense was so short, you are inviting these, this is not Cole Bishop, on offense, their offense was so short, so many plays, you are inviting these kinds of challenges, risks.
Yeah.
And, what can you do about that? You can play different, but in that one moment, a call can still go against you. It happens in sports. It's home teams. It's good teams. And I just don't feel good, just like Ross said, whining about it.
Yeah. No, that's why I meant what I said. I mean, I don't think I'm being disingenuous by saying what I said to Ross at the end. I don't think we've talked about it for 2 minutes on our show. I almost never want to get there because I know what it's a door you open, and I mean it just happened just now. I think to some extent, right? You open that door a crack, and next thing you know, you are into we're talking about voting machines. Next thing you know, I mean the conspiracy will never stop. So I'm very loath to bring it up myself as a big talking point. I mean, I'm frustrated too that they didn't get the first down, the mark on the quarterback sneak. But I don't know. That's football. To me, that doesn't have to be a conspiracy. That's just poor officiating, which happens. Maybe not even poor. I'm not sure he made it. I wanted him to make it. Obviously, we all wanted him to make it. I thought he made it, and here we are.
And like Ross said, appreciate the challenge of doing that correctly with the massive humanity, and you're sprinting at it, and you really can't see. You're doing your best. That's where I just choose to end up with this. I don't care. I don't find it interesting at all that calls are made fast as some sort of proof that there's the system is working against you or something because it's working for them. They're all made fast. That's what is one thing that officials do that gets them criticized is if they, deliberate. Where's the call? We're all just standing here. We don't know. That looks bad on the ref. So that's part of, I think, what they've tried to do with the space ref is, a caller brings up earlier, how come you don't see the chains anymore? Because someone who's watching the game on TV tells the side judge who's running in on a close play to a first down, whether it's a first down or not, and you see the guy literally in every game point across his stomach in the direction, meaning first. He doesn't signal first down because only the ref can do that. So the side judge just sort of points across his stomach, let's go, and they all hear it, and they know, the chain gang, everybody hears it, and they just keep going. Is the game worse because of that? Is it more suspicious because of that? I don't think so. I don't like the lack of transparency, but if we can move this thing along without having to measure all the time, then we should.
Yeah, if you eliminate the measurements, you have more time to review all the other plays.
Yes, that's right. Timeout. We'll have Paul with us at 6 for pregame coverage. Sabres and Bruins tonight. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
More of Schopp.
before we turn it over to the Sabres, who host Boston tonight. Paul Hamilton and pregame in just over 10 minutes. Here is Jay with us. Hi, Jay.
Hey, guys. Yeah, I'll try to be quick for you. So we've talked a lot about the reffing calls and how we think that might have gone Casey's way and all this kind of stuff. I don't want to talk about that either. At the end of the day, we had a team in Buffalo that was not playing its best game by any stretch. We had a Casey offense that was probably having its best performance of the year. And with over 3 minutes in the game left, we had the ball in our hands to either tie or win. And at the end of the day, the only thing I can really come up with that I think was the issue we faced, despite a number of big and small ones, is that this everybody eats mentality, while it was nice for the year and successful and definitely got us points in games when we needed them, in crunch time, it did not work. It failed us. And I don't think I'm stating the obvious when I say we need a stud pass catcher. We need our Kelsey. We need our Justin Jefferson. If Josh Allen, I'll end here, if he knows he has that guy, do not tell me he is not looking for him. Do not tell me that Joe Brady is not scheming a play for that guy. And that's where I think is why we lost. And it's just frustrating to see this happen time and time again. And we can talk later about how we think this team does not give Josh all the things that he needs. And I think that's true. And it's got to change, or we're just spinning our wheels. And I'm just so tired. Okay, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jay. Appreciate that. Steve is next. Hi, Steve.
Hey, guys. I'll keep it quick. So 2 things. First, I'm not even a Bills fan. I'm a Raiders fan. I just got to say, the Bills, one thing you can keep your head up on is for the next 5 years, you're looking at the Ravens, the Bengals, the Chiefs, and the Bills are going to do a battle royale because those 4 quarterbacks are clearly the best. With that said, the one thing I would say is I think McDermott's had some good moments over the years. I think for me, the one thing that the Bills could have done, it's a rearview mirror type thing at this point, but, man, I'll tell you what, if they would have last year made a move to get Harbaugh, get rid of McDermott then and get Harbaugh, if you paired up Josh Allen with Harbaugh, man, that would be just absolutely lethal. I think there's an aura that's missing around Harbaugh. That's missing around McDermott, and that's just my personal feeling from a distance. Like, as a Raiders fan, we've had a joke of a carousel of head coaches, so this in no way is me throwing shade at the Bills, but, like, if you told me tomorrow Sean McDermott was going to be the head coach of the Raiders, it wouldn't move the needle for me. It would just be another miss in the long line of failed coaches for the Raiders. For me, you bring in a guy who can go toe-to-toe with those other guys, which at this point really doesn't exist, in my opinion, so you're better off just staying with them. But I think, man, if you would have paired up Harbaugh with Allen,
yep, okay,
legendary stuff.
Got it. Thanks. I would say one thing that's pretty easy for me to say about McDermott is having gone toe-to-toe with them has happened. I mean, they've beaten Kansas City 4 years in a row. They've beaten Baltimore in the playoffs twice. I don't know what toe-to-toe really. He's not getting wiped in these games, but I know the rest of it. Dustin is next. Hi, Dustin.
Hey, guys. I just had a few comments on some guys that really disappointed. Of course, everybody saw Elam's performance. That guy needs to go and get or make a roster spot for somebody else. Rousseau, I love, but he really came crashing down on some plays that really let Mahomes scramble out fairly easily. I don't know what his discipline was like that night, but maybe it was somebody else's responsibility to set the edge. I don't know, but really disappointed there. And I'm getting tired of waiting for Von Miller to really contribute.
I think that's got to be over. I don't have it all locked down yet, but I think they can clear $18 million with a move. There'll be some dead money, but he was very cooperative with them last year. And I'm definitely going to consider that. I mean, I was pulling for him to get all the way back, and I have a feeling he's as far back as he's going to get. And I'm interested in giving that playing time to someone who might be able to still actually do the job on a more regular basis.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
And I agree with the caller about Rousseau big time. I like Rousseau a lot. He's made plenty of big plays for this team. He had an awful game.
Elam my guess, is probably a cut. It's been another year went by, and it's
stunned if he wasn't
3 years now.
Yep.
So I don't think that would be shocking or anything. I think I'm losing my voice. I told you, I don't think I've ever lost my voice without being sick. And I don't feel sick. This could be a first for me.
Yeah.
You can still hear me. I'm
no,
still audible.
But you're cracking.
It's a very strange feeling.
Yeah.
When you probably know it. Most people know it.
Yeah.
You lose your voice, but you don't feel you're not sick.
Yeah.
Hear that?
There it is. Yeah.
So anyway, there's that update. Sabres pregame, Boston in town. Paul Hamilton joins next here on WGR.
Never miss a second of Jeremy and Are on the air.
We know that we have to step up here. We're all still young, but we all believe it. We all feel it, so we're excited for the year.
More than anything, I just want to be able to talk to the guys and let them know that I'm approachable and I can help them in any way.
I just want to play as much as I can. It's something that I feel like works. I feel like it's easier to kind of keep yourself kind of level.
The radio home of the Buffalo Sabres. This is the Buffalo Sabres pregame show. Live from our flagship station in Buffalo, here's your host, Schopp and the Bulldog.
All right, away we go on a hockey game night. I feel like it's been a minute since we have done one of these Buffalo Sabres pregame shows. A little trip out to Western Canada will do that for you, I suppose. Good to have you with us here, along with Mike Schopp. I am the Bulldog, and this is the Buffalo Sabres pregame show. Sabres and Boston Bruins meeting tonight downtown Buffalo, KeyBank Center. The Sabres are coming off of a disappointing 13 years. No, they're coming off a disappointing Western Canada trip. Dropped the finale of it on Saturday afternoon in Edmonton and come into tonight's game having played 49 games. They've won only 18 of them. 18-26-5 is the overall record. Good for 41 points. That is last in the Atlantic Division and also last in, hang on, let me make sure, yes, in the Eastern Conference, of course, 41 points. The Bruins are clinging to a wild card spot at this point, although they're tied. They're technically tied for third place in the division, so I should say clinging to a wild card spot. But, of course, like most years, there's quite a schmozzle of teams within 3, 4, 5 points of those wild card spots, and the Bruins are currently in one of those spots. 51 games played for the Bruins, 25-20-6 is the record, good for 56 points. We bring Paul Hamilton. We have Paul Hamilton live at KeyBank Center. We don't have Paul Hamilton live at KeyBank Center yet, so we will delay that for just a few moments here while we hopefully get connected with him. The Sabres had an opportunity. They got a goal pulled back that I think deserved to be pulled back on Saturday, an opportunity to tie Edmonton late. Kulik ended up kicking the puck into the net, and I don't think there was much doubt about that review as it happened. But tough ending to another very tough trip. The Sabres did manage to win a game in Vancouver, but lost in Calgary after being tied 2-2 after 2 periods. Really lost that game going away, as it turned out, and just a tough trip within what has been a very, very tough season for the Sabres. I mean, just very little has gone as it was going to be planned to go. Additions to the roster to varying degrees. Jason Zucker has come through, been a really nice player for the Sabres. However, the rest of it has not really borne much fruit at all. I guess Ryan McLeod's been a nice addition in the role when he's in the role that he was supposed to be in, which was centering Zucker and Jordan Greenway, but that went sideways when Greenway got hurt, and other ineffective play up top forced Zucker up into a more prominent line assignment, and that just got kind of junked. Tonight, for what it's worth, the expectation is that McLeod will be centering Zach Benson and Jack Quinn. So, I don't know, it's kind of a bit of a grab bag at this point. Kulik is the top center on the team, playing with Peterka and Tage Thompson. At this point, Tuck is on a line with Cousins and Zucker. I've mentioned Benson with McLeod and Quinn. Krebs is going to be between Malenstein and Lafferty, and Nicholas Aube-Kubel has gone the way of Rochester. He's been waived. He cleared waivers, and he is now there. And, that's a player I think will help Rochester. He's been pretty largely ineffectual here with the Sabres so far this year, thus his being waived and not being claimed. So, but I think he's a nice enough player. I think he'll be of some value to Rochester. And so, we wish them well with that. The Bruins have made a coaching change and have had, despite being in a playoff spot right now as we talk, maybe the year we were expecting them to have last year. When I thought they were going to take a step back last year, they really didn't. Maybe this year they're kind of on the ropes. We'll see if they get there. They're currently enduring some pretty significant injuries to the blue line as I take a quick spin toward our Tullamore Dew look at tonight's opponent. Spotlight look at tonight's opponent, and that's brought to you by Tullamore Dew Irish Whiskey. When it's game time, it's Tully time. They're without Hampus Lindholm and Charlie McAvoy on their back end. I mean, those are two minute-chomping, top-pair type defensemen. At least they have been at different times in their careers. McAvoy certainly is still that. I'm not sure if Lindholm is still actually at that level of play, but nonetheless, they're missing two key guys back there on the blue line as they come into this game tonight. We are now ready to have Paul Hamilton join us with the band, I'm sure, in full effect. Paul Hamilton live at KeyBank Center. Hi, Paul. What's going on?
No, this is crazy down here. I'm actually in the 4th level of the parking ramp. I have not seen this kind of traffic here in 10 years. And it's a Tuesday night.
Wow.
And,
is something closed?
I don't know, but I couldn't get in this thing. And so here I am sitting on the 4th level of the parking ramp. No band tonight, sorry. But to expand on
you sound great.
Hey, we've got good equipment here when it works, and it's working. So,
good.
But to expand on what you're saying, Charlie Coyle also is sick, so they aren't sure if he's going to play or not. He's questionable.
All right, yeah, that's another important player. Yeah, I mean the Bruins just sort of keep on keeping on here, but they're being tested, like I said, without Lindholm and McAvoy for sure. How about the Sabres, Paul? I tried to encapsulate the Western Canadian road trip as best I could while we were waiting for you to find a parking spot. Just another bad trip in what's been a bad loss season, I guess.
Well, it was typical this season. It was 3 above-average games and 1 win. 151 shot attempts in 2 games got them 4 goals. That's crazy. I mean, they had over 70 in both games. You got to win both those games. I mentioned that to Lindy Ruff, and he just kind of laughed. He goes, yeah, you really needed to bring that up. But he goes, yeah, I agree with you. He goes, you should. And he goes, the problem is, this is him talking. He said, we're missing breakaways. We're missing 2-on-1s. We're missing 3-on-1s. He said, the golden opportunities to score that good teams score on, he goes, we're not. And that's simply true. I mean, and you can go back to the Bruin game on December 21st in Boston. It kind of encapsulates the season. Buffalo played really well with their backup goalie, Reimer. It's a back-to-back game. They had just come from Toronto, and they are 1-1 with a few minutes left in the third, and Lafferty takes a penalty that Lindy Ruff absolutely did not like. You'll hear him discuss this. And they killed the penalty basically. Boston scored right at the 2-minute mark of the power play, which makes it a power play goal. And why did they score? Because Samuelson knocked one of the Bruins into Reimer and knocked him over. Well, can't make the save when one of the Bruins is in, and there was a minute 45 left in regulation, and there's the game-winning goal. You didn't even you held the Bruins to 20 shots. Your goaltender played very well, made 18 saves. At the time, had made 17. I only allowed 1 goal in Boston on a back-to-back, and you didn't even get it to overtime to get to a point. And that is the whole season right there. There are so many games like that are lost, maybe in different ways, but in the same way. Maybe you're not knocking your goalie over.
Yeah, but a self-inflicted wound, yeah.
Right. Especially with penalties, late penalties, overtime penalties, and you go on the trip. You played a really good game in Calgary, and you went 0 for 6 on the power play and gave up 2 shorthanded goals. That basically was a 3-2 game.
Yeah.
I mean, it was 2-2. They made it 3-2. They scored 2 empty netters. Final score is 5-2. But it's basically a tie to 1-goal game, which you played 5-on-5 extremely well. But you went 0 for 6 and looked like you'd never been on the power play once all year. You looked like you just brought in 5 new guys who had never seen each other before. And you give up 2 shorthanded goals. And then you go into Edmonton, and again, here you are sitting there. You blew the lead, and here you are sitting there at 2-2, And sure enough, you give up the goal because J.J. Peterka is absolutely oblivious to Nugent Hopkins coming next to him. He's there, and if he realizes Nugent Hopkins is coming, it's still 2-2. But he doesn't, because that's typical Sabres. They are oblivious to what's going on around them. They stand next to the guys that they should be covering, but they don't cover them because they don't realize they're there, or they don't realize they're on the wrong side of them, or they don't realize they can actually lift their stick. Or, so it was just, here you are. You played 3 good games. You beat Vancouver. You easily could have beaten Calgary or Edmonton without McDavid. But the little details are still not being covered. And I just shake my head. And it's like, JJ, what are you doing? And I just get to a point sometimes when I watch J.J. Peterka play, and there's some other guys on this team where they just aren't very smart players. And they're good players, but I will take average players who are extremely intelligent to guys who aren't smart, who are good players, and I bet you I win with the average players who are extremely intelligent.
Paul Hamilton from KeyBank Center, actually the parking ramp outside KeyBank Center. Weird traffic for a Tuesday night in this season where the building has rarely been full. Paul, I ran through the lines here while we were waiting to connect with you, and I forgot to mention that Kozak has been called back up here, right? They made the move to waive Nicholas Aube-Kubel. Maybe you can fill us in on what the thinking is there. And Tyson Kozak has been recalled. So do we know if he's going to go into the lineup tonight? We don't know because he couldn't be recalled because Aube-Kubel doesn't clear till 2 o'clock. I see.
And we were there beforehand. I imagine he was in town. Lindy Ruff, you will hear Lindy Ruff say we are considering it.
Okay.
And that was one of the reasons why they waived Aube-Kubel, him and Kulik. And I mean, when they didn't waive Aube-Kubel and out west, and they just sent Kozak down, I'm like, what are you doing? I mean, Kozak has only played 9 games, but I've watched him play in the American Hockey League. I have covered the American Hockey League playoffs for the last 3 years because there have been no National Hockey League playoffs for me to cover. And I've watched this kid. This kid will do anything to win a hockey game. He will go face first to block a shot. He will win every battle on the wall. He will always be around the net, and that's the way he played when he came up into the NHL. Is he the most talented guy on the ice? Absolutely not. But he's exactly what they're looking for when they're talking about being harder to play against. And he and Malenstein are a good start to a line. And Lafferty, I know, can be better. But the 3 of them can be the start of a line that you can really be hard to play against. Aube-Kubel filled that role in Washington, but just wasn't filling it here, whether it was injuries or what it was. It just wasn't happening. But Kozak, in my mind, I know he's young. He's a 7th-round pick, but in my mind, his AHL career should be over because he is exactly what this team needs when we're talking about having a line that's hard to play against.
Well, it sure sounds like they're going to give him an audition here, at least for maybe the stretch. I mean, anything can happen here if his play really dropped off or something, but it seems like he's earned that look with Aube-Kubel going down. I mentioned Kulik earlier, Paul, and it seems the arrow, despite the team struggles, the arrow for Kulik continues to point up.
Yeah, it does, and it makes a trade more attractive. You know, if you have to trade a center, let's say you make a trade for Peterson of Vancouver. I'm not saying that's imminent or happening or anything. I'm sure the discussion has been had. There's no question about that. Let's say you make that trade and it costs you a center. It costs you Cousins, let's say. Okay. Well, you're getting a center back in that case. Second of all, you've got 2 young centers still in your pipeline who are excellent players as AHL players, and Kulik, who is starting to round into an excellent NHL player, and Hellenius, both number 1 picks. So, all right, maybe you're afraid Cousins goes somewhere else and pulls the Eichel-Reinhart act and really blossoms. Well, you also get a guy who has very recently scored 100 points in this league. Last year, I believe it was around 82, and is 26 years old. And, if I'm just using it as an example, I don't want anybody to get excited that I'm trying to say this is happening.
Gotcha.
I'm very careful because of the way people listen. And, so, all right, if you have to make that deal, maybe you got to throw Power in there. That's fine. They want Byram. I would rather trade Power. Not that I'm down on Power to the fact that I don't think he can become anything, but from what I've seen, I would rather have Byram than Power. Just from what I've seen right now. And you still have to sign Byram. And you've already got Dahlin for over $11 million and Power for over $8 million. I don't know how many million you can throw at Byram when you've already got two guys.
And all three are lefties too. Like if it
right, and all three are lefties.
Right.
So that would be me. I would push the Power end of it more than I would push the Byram end of it because there are many nights where Byram is your best defenseman over Dahlin. And he's young too. He wasn't that long ago. He was the 4th overall pick. So that's what I'm looking at. You can't be scared to do something bold. And if it doesn't work, all right, you're going to be fired. But if you don't do anything, you're probably going to be fired anyway.
right. And you're in last place, so whatever.
Do something bold
and
live with the results and move forward.
All right, Paul. Well, get in there. You got a job to do. So get in the building. We'll let you go here. Thank you for this.
Can I give you one number?
Sure.
I did a thing on Luukkonen yesterday. Talked to him. And as I was digging. Last year, you remember Luukkonen after the first of the year, he had the second most games behind Vasilevsky, 36-35, and he was lights out. On 1 day's rest last year, in 17 games out of the 35, it was 1 day's rest. He had a .922 save percentage. This year, it's 15 games. Do you know what his save percentage is this year on 1 day's rest?
I'm making a face.
862. It's gone from 922 to 862. If he's had 2 days rest, it goes up to 918. But Lindy Ruff would probably say if we closed the door and it wasn't on a microphone, what do you want me to do?
Right. No, I hear you. Yeah. All right. Thanks for that, Paul. Get in there. Like I said. All right. There's Paul Hamilton live at KeyBank Center. Speaking of Lindy Ruff, here is the coach's game day meeting with the media in advance of tonight's game between the Sabres and the Bruins.
I think what really pushed the decision was the fact that Kulich has played so well. And we want to, keep progressing him. Second part, it is something that we're talking about right now.
We saw some of his best in the beginning of the season. Did he have trouble getting back in that groove after the injury? Was it hampering him?
I think that's part of it. I think he came back from that earlier than we expected. Admittedly, he had said to me that he felt good, but didn't feel he skated as well as he did. I thought, through camp, he'd really skated well. But coming back, it just didn't seem like he was catching any traction.
But the way Kozak play also go into the decision?
Yeah, that would. Yeah, I mean that's part of what we're talking about too, Paul. I'll be honest. This afternoon.
Is Kozak kind of everything you're looking for? Just the way he plays the game.
Yeah. He's. If you look at drawn penalties, his effort, physicality. He stepped in those first 2 games. He really scored 2 goals in 2 games. Goes to the net well. He makes the guys around him better. In the role he's playing. Really have liked what he's done when he's been in the lineup.
Rasmus was talking about Tage moving around. He likes it because it maybe forces him to use his instincts a little more. Just what does Tage moving around maybe do for the other 4 players on the ice there?
Well, I think the other team realizes the big shot, and a lot of times if you're not moving it, if your plan is to take that away, it becomes pretty easy. But when you move around, what it does is all of a sudden Quinn, who has a great shot and can make plays off that flank, is open. And then if they start to cover him a little bit, then the hole opens up. So, I think our power play has done a lot better job. We had one bad game on the trip with our power play, the Calgary game, which hurt us. But got right back to generating some really good opportunities in the Edmonton game and really just didn't finish. But, with him moving around, it is, when Raz looks at it from up top, it gives him a couple more options.
Seems to be a trend around the league, Lindy, where younger players, it takes them time to really make an impact on the power play, even some of the more talented younger prospects. What's the process in working with these guys to get them more comfortable dealing with the pressure and the different looks they're going to have on the power? Because a lot of your personnel on the power play, they're younger guys.
Yeah, I think it's realizing the outs. Getting the puck off the yellow and realizing where you can get it back into the middle of the ice. A big part about the power play is retrievals, and when you're under pressure, can you relieve it? Can you solve it as a young player? We're getting a lot better at that. If you look at, you're right, we're power play's young. I think the fact now we get McLeod back, we get Zucker back. Probably soon we get Greenway back. We'd like to find a little bit of consistency with the power play unit going back to with Zucks there and. The two units kind of working in harmony and keeping those five pieces together. Even actually 5-on-5, we're getting those guys back in the lineup and trying to we need a little bit of rhythm, 5-on-5 rhythm we're generating a lot of opportunities. We're not finishing, and I'd like to see that, us try to catch some type of rhythm where, you can get 3 or 4 goals a night.
The finishing of it is some of that mental, because it's not just young guys that the finishing hasn't been there this season.
I think when things are going good, you almost look at it, there's got to be a little bit of puck luck to it. You're bouncing a few. You look at a couple of goals against us that have bounced off skates and shin pads, and you need a little bit of puck luck, but you got to get yourself in the right place for a second opportunity. I thought even these last 3 games we got around the net. We had people there. The puck, there was a couple times the puck bounced over our stick. There was a couple times it just hit us in the wrong spot. You look at the tying goal where Cooley's right there in front of the net and just can't quite get a stick on it, and it's going off his skate. So I think a little bit can be mental, but I think when it becomes mental, get yourself in the inside, get yourself around the front of the net, get yourself off the backside. I mean, if you're going to watch highlights of goals, you see that. You see that every night. If you're on the perimeter, outside the dots, you can find yourself drying up 5-on-5.
The game in Boston, just one of those heartbreakers. It was a low chance, low goal game. You did take the late penalty, and you basically killed it off. They scored at the 2-minute mark of the penalty.
Yeah, it was just at the time, Paul, another way to lose it you had to bring up. You look at that game, we got in real late that night. That was we had a little bit of weather. We got in at 3 a.m. It was a back-to-back game, and we probably played one of our better back-to-back games. Played the game the right way. We managed the puck really well in that game. Don't like the penalty we took. It hurt us. And you're right. And we hit our own guy, into our goaltender, which, allowed the goal. But I think we get rewarded if we play a similar game. Like to see a few more, but we didn't give up much. I mean, I think after 50 minutes, we'd only given up 13 or 14 shots. So it was a game that gave us a chance to win in a difficult back-to-back situation.
For an opponent that's kind of had the ups and downs the way Boston has this year, where some nights they look like the Bruins we know, and then other nights they're just really fighting it.
I think it's just a little product of the league, really. There's different teams we've played. You get some night you might get. I mean, you look at the last 40 we played against Edmonton. I felt when you look at shot quality and the type of opportunities we dominated, and that's kind of what the league has done. You can have a tough period. We had a tough first period, but played really well second and third. I think you want to look at Boston's game. They play some good periods of hockey, but there's a period of hockey here or there that really hurts them too. And I think there's been times where their lack of scoring, when they kind of seem like us at times. Their lack of scoring has hurt them.
Noticed about just the way Kulik has adjusted. Obviously he was dominant there in the AHL, and how has he kind of picked it up?
Yeah, he's getting himself in a good. I mean, if you look at the goal he scored, it wasn't a power play in that Edmonton game. He's getting himself inside the dot a little bit narrower. If you look at just before he scored, the shot he took, which was a difficult shot, kind of jammed him in between. He's got a great release. He's still got a lot on it, and I think that he's finding himself in that right spot. I'd actually like to see our, whether it's Byram or Power up there, find him a little bit more. I think he's been open, and we haven't looked that way a couple times. But if you look at the goal he scored, that's a little bit what we saw, even at prospect camp, him getting inside the dot and a shot that goaltenders can't get to.
All right, there you go. There's the Sabres head coach in advance of tonight's game against the Boston Bruins. Sabres and Bruins coming your way a little bit after 7 from KeyBank Center downtown. We'll hit up a timeout here. When we get back, it'll be time for us to take a run around the locker room. We'll be getting connected with the players, powered by Verizon. Get to your local Verizon store today. We'll be connecting with Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen as well as Captain Rasmus Dahlin as we continue getting you ready for tonight's Sabres-Bruins game here on WGR. Welcome back inside to tonight's Sabres pregame show. Sabres and Bruins coming your way a little bit after 7 o'clock here. We'll get to the locker room now. First up, here is Captain Rasmus Dahlin.
Rasmus, really, you look at the trip, maybe the Seattle game was the only really bad game. The other three, you won one. You were right there in the third period in the other two. So you played well enough to maybe win games. How do you get over that hump where you don't come home 1-3, but you played 3 pretty good games?
Yeah. I mean, you're saying it right away. We just got to, move forward, and we know we have built on some stuff in our game. We just got to continue to grow, but that's the frustrating part to not win when you are playing better. It's a big moment we got to take care of. Late in the third period we can't get scored on and stuff like that. But we still have some stuff to figure out. But yeah, a step in the right direction for sure.
Where have you seen growth from this group?
It's a lot of areas, honestly. Our starts of the games are really good, are much better right now. And then playing with the puck right now, it's a little bit better too. And then competing. That's our biggest growth. We're skating right now, and we're being hard on the opponents. Yeah.
The only reason you lost the one game was because of special teams. I mean, you were 0-for-6 on the power play and shorthanded. The next game, the power play was better. What did you guys do to improve it from what basically lost you a hockey game, the other one?
Competing. Kept it simple. Won the battles, won the puckbacks, more shot volume, stuff like that.
It's helpful to see power play just go from looking great one night to kind of just fighting it another night. That's kind of happened regularly this season where consistency is kind of lacking.
It will go up and down, but you always need to have the right fundamentals every game. We're still learning, but we're for sure a step in the right direction. Some nights we're playing unbelievable, and then, like you said, we're not as good some nights, so we just got to find a better balance.
Tage is moving around a lot on the power play now. How much is that? Was it hard for you to get used to that he could be anywhere? He might be in this circle. He might be in this one. He might be in the middle. He might be at the point. I mean, you guys rotate now pretty well. Was that hard to get used to see him rotating as much as he is now?
No, I feel like it's great for us. We can use our hockey IQ and not think about set plays. And when he's moving, their PK is always worried about him. So it's a good thing for us.
Is that a change that you're happy to see based on how things went last season?
Yeah, as long as we can give him the puck for 1T, I'm very happy.
What's the temperature of this team right now? Kind of just, you guys seem pretty loose today. Just what's kept you guys maybe in a good spot on a day like today?
Our mental. There's no other way than get out there and work hard and do your best. It's a new day every day.
Thank you, Rasmus. Rasmus Dahlin on the pregame, guys. Back to you.
All right, thank you very much for that, Paul. Our Eye on the Blue and Gold is brought to you by Great Lakes Building Systems. We keep an eye on your business so you don't have to. Great Lakes Building Systems, our business is protecting your business. Now we'll get connected with Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. That's powered by Verizon. Get to your local Verizon store today. Here we go. Let's connect with Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen right now.
I mean, you guys, probably your worst game was the first one against Seattle, and I don't think you guys were awful in the other three, but yet you only were able to win one. How did you, when you look at the overall road trip, how do you feel the team played?
I feel like the guys worked hard. I think that's been the story of the whole season. It's not like, I think there's been a lot of games where we kind of dropped their points, even though, we play some of a good game and work hard. But in those, during those games, there's those moments where we kind of make a mental lapse, or there's certain things that lead to those goals against, and I feel like that's been going on all this season, and kind of something we need to still clean up.
Would you agree? When I looked at maybe your last 7 starts, you've had like a really, really good start, followed by a start that maybe is not as good, and then a really, really good start. It seems like it's going back and forth. If you feel the same way, have you been able to pinpoint maybe why?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, there's a little up and down movement there. I wouldn't say always the scores kind of tell the whole picture. I feel like, there's games where we give maybe a lot of shots against, and they make the start look better than it actually is. I'm not saying anyway that it would that I would have had like a bad starts where there's been a lot of shots and we won. I still agree with the point that there's there's a lot of starts I need to be better on too, and I don't know exactly what the exact problem is, but I feel like there's been a lot of the times there's a start where I get a lot of shots and it's been better, and then when there's less shots it's kind of where I haven't had the best possible game, but otherwise than that I don't know.
And when you talk to Mike Bales, I mean, when I look at your starts like with 1 day's rest, last year they were great. This year, those numbers haven't been as good as they were last year. Have you and Mike talked about that, maybe reasons why for that?
Yeah, I mean, he points out some of the stuff where, it's not necessarily how I'm making the saves. It's kind of, there's some things during the game where I kind of, which lead to those, goals against. And, we've been working on that. I feel like we have, gotten most of it away from the game. I don't know. I don't look at the numbers too much, but there's still certain stuff we need to clean up.
Yeah, you're playing just like you did last year. You're playing a lot. Do you still feel comfortable with playing a lot and still feel that that's the way to go for you personally?
No, 100% I do. I feel like I play better that way. As I said, I want to be part of the solution here. I still got to be better and help the team to win, but. I feel like every goalie wants to play as much as they can.
Mentally as a team, how can you guys get over that hump of playing well but not necessarily winning when you play well? How can you guys get over that where you get rewarded for maybe the way you play?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's just taking responsibility of your own game, as players. As I said, there's certain mistakes which kind of cost us the games, and as I said, I need to be better too. And I feel like that's kind of where we can, kind of turn those games our way, is to limit those mistakes and kind of everybody as an individual, just kind of clean some of the mistakes up and go from there.
Thanks, Hugo.
Thank you.
Well, Pekka Luukkonen in the pregame, guys. Back to you.
Yeah, that is just about going to do it for our end of the Buffalo Sabres pregame show tonight. Sabres and Bruins coming your way a little bit after 7 tonight from downtown Buffalo. He says killing time as he's scrolling through his phone trying to find the rest of tonight's NHL schedule, and I have found it. 7 o'clock starts for the Jets at the Canadiens, Chicago at Tampa, Carolina at the Rangers. At 7:30, the Avalanche are in New York to play the Islanders. The Capitals are in Calgary to play the Flames. That's at 9 o'clock. A 10 o'clock start for the Stars at the Golden Knights. Also 10 o'clock for the Ducks at the Kraken. And that is going to put the wraps on our end of tonight's pregame show. Stay tuned. Brian Koziel and Paul Hamilton will be along shortly to take you the rest of the way up to puck drop for the Sabres and the Bruins tonight. Dan and Rob with the call right here on WGR.
Buffalo Sabres hockey is being brought to you by Upstate Honda Dealers. For great deals on the entire Honda lineup, visit your Upstate Honda dealer today. By Hamburg Overhead Door, over-delivering all over West